Welcome back, Predecessor family. The time is now. PCC8 Grand Finals. I've still got Joe, yours truly. Congratulations on the win, Joe. Some free plat for you. But we've got F6 joining us on the desk here. New fit, looking hella fresh, F6. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Got a little bit of break, but now we are back for the finals, and I'm excited. I'm seeing both of these teams competing today. It's going to be an absolute banger of a series.
It is, and as we've mentioned, we are at our finals. We want to take a second, look back at what has gotten us there through this weekend. Yesterday, we started with all of our quarterfinals. D-Lab took out Bad Timing. We saw them face Rogue in our semifinal earlier today, where D-Lab did take them 2-1, ended up with the gentleman's sweep. They find their way to the finals. Docs took down MTG in our first quarterfinals. Prof also took down Top Physique in our first quarterfinals. They just got 2-0 by the Doctors, and we have it set. Grand Finals. Dirty Lake and the boys taking on the Doctors. We've got a graphic for our head-to-head stats against the two of them. Pitting these two teams, they did play each other on our second day of Swiss in the second to last round. F6, run me through a couple of these stats and what we're seeing in this matchup.
I mean, the first thing that kind of highlights straight out to me here is going to be that KDA. D-Lab likes to secure their kills. I mean, one of the biggest factors towards is how Import plays is just being able to gank through a lot of these lanes. It kind of just shows how they're able to make sure they put themselves on that board.
Yeah, and again, looking at the Doctors, not having as high of a KDA, but that damage is more than like twice from what D-Labs were fighting. I do want to give a quick highlight to the most banned, most picked right there. D-Lab not liking the Drongo at all. Oh, they're gonna pick the Drongo the most. They really don't like the Notbash at all. And for like the Doctors, the one problem they see is just the Sailors, which is very interesting because Sailors is like a first pick a lot for a lot of teams. But for the Doctors, they actually don't like the first pick, so they're just gonna ban that hero out most of the time.
And we saw Mav have an impressive semifinals. I believe he played Zarus in both of those games, was really, according to Falcon, the MVP of that series. This jungle matchup here where we have Import going up against Mav, how do you think that that's going to impact this final series and what sort of implications it may have on who ends up holding up the championship belt at the end of this?
It really just kind of goes into a little bit more of just like what this first game is going to look like. Depends on their mentality, their state that they're going in here. They've been playing pretty much all day today. I mean, we know Mav is a great player, but Import as well is just an absolute force to be reckoned with. We did seem a little bit sketchy there on game one with the Kalari, but going throughout the rest of game two and game three, though, Import came back and he was alive.
We're also talking about D-Lab, who is the last PCC champions, and then the team that's going to be pitted against them in the finals is the Doctors. This is the first time in the finals. It's definitely going to be a brand new experience for them, so it's just the question is who's going to win. It's going to be the veterans of like the PCC, or it's going to be the new underdogs looking to do a upset sweep right here.
An upset, I think it would be. I think a lot of people would think this would be an upset as D-Lab will come into this. They were our 1 seed coming in. Doctors are our 2 seed. We do have picks and bans ready for it, though. Everybody's ready to get into these finals. Let's get it started. What do you think we're going to see on the first rotation?
Zarus. Something Zarus. Or no, we're actually going to see the gadget coming in from D-Lab. I mean, this is something that D-Lab has been kind of just issuing out throughout this entire PC7. They're a little bit more strategic on who they're going against, who they're really trying to ban out, and this gadget makes sense for the Doctors. We know how Sneaks likes to play sometimes in the off lane, and we know in the mid lane too as well. It's going to be a huge advantage for Seismic.
And the Doctors already putting that huge respect on Appy Picker with the Hauser pick. Because Doctors love the Sailors ban, but they hate the idea of going against Appy Picker on his comfort Hauser pick. So I actually do really like that whole lot to try to squeeze that mid lane pool for Appy Picker. But I'm going to say D-Lab first picking the Terror. Not too surprising, right? The Terror has just been like a menace, kind of terrorizing this kind of comp scene right here.
Stop me if you've heard this one before, Predecessor family, but we got Gideon and Zarus in the second rotation. We've seen Zarus either in those first bans or in the first rotation all damn day. Same with Gideon as well. Gonna put that on to the hands of Seismic. We've seen him do some crazy plays with the time flex on the Gideon.
Yeah, I mean, that's also probably one of the main reasons for their howitzer ban. Yes, to target out picker, but yes, not to have it go against your Gideon that you're trying to pick up. But this Zarus is unique, but what's even better is the fact that D-Lab counters that with the Aurora, and he's not going to have a great time if they're going mad head-to-head.
And this is it's gonna be like probably a Lobber off lane with Terra. And if you ever seen Terra on the Lobber pick right there, it's gonna really just ruin your day. So I just seen a very strong jungle off lane come from D-Lab. And Doctor's having a little bit sketchy kind of time with that. Like Zealous is just gonna kind of struggle against the Terra Aurora. And who else are you gonna like try to pair him up to make this pick work?
We'll have to see. It should be coming in only a matter of time. We are just kind of hanging on this. It is going to be the Drongo. You see Lakeinator piloting this hero all of the time, pumping out the DPS with that rad rounds.
Yeah, I mean, overall, we know that Drongo has a bloated kit, and in the hands of Lakeinator, just kind of rounds him out as a player. But we haven't seen him really pop off too much going into today. He's had good games, but we haven't seen him really be the ultimate factor. Picking up the ADC early on is fine, in my opinion. Kind of gets it away from the doctors and take it out of the hands of Kier.
And we're going to see Ceres to round out the first half of the picks for Doctors. Again, seeing the Ceres and Ceres duo pick. For me personally, I can't see like the really huge like potential between the two. I think they're fine. I just think the Terra Aurora duo pick is stronger than the Ceres and Ceres pick, because that's a lot of CC that both the Ceres and Ceres have to deal with come from D-Lab. So I think they're going to kind of struggle a little bit against that. I think now it's going to really come down to the dual lane, who they're going to pick for the Doctors. And they're going to ban now the Argus, because Appy Picker is also pretty dang good on the Argus. So again, I think Doctors putting a lot of respect on Appy Picker. Appy's been like doing really good in this tournament. I think trying to squeeze him out as much as you can is probably like the way to go for this first draft.
I think it's the right way to target Appy, because what else are you really going to do against him? They've taken 4 mid lane heroes off of the potential picks for him. He's left to like maybe an Iggy, maybe a Bellica. It's going to be a little bit tougher for him, especially after that Argus ban comes through. Muriel banned also on the side of Dirty Lake and the boys.
I mean, we saw that on the head-to-head matchup that Muriel is one of their favorite heroes to be picked up. So taking that away from the Doctor just kind of allows to hit them where it really hurts, coming out of the side of the D-Lab. And with the Argus, though, it is going to be a good pickup there, like Joey said. I mean, right now they are focusing that mid lane really well, and Doctors are trying to maybe put their emphasis on Seismic to have him and allow him to carry throughout the game.
I really like this pickup from the Decker right here, because they don't really have any options for shutting down Gain Ultimate. The only support choice left at this point is the Decker, but Doctors kind of yoinked that away. Don't have to worry about the Argus, the Decker, all that taken off the table. Gain's gonna have fun just pressing the fun button and not being interrupted at all.
Not gonna be interrupted. Almost no way for them to stop it. They are gonna pick that Iggy up for Appy Picker, it seems. I have no doubts in Appy ever. I have not seen Appy pilot Iggy very regularly. F6, have you ever seen him on this hero?
I have not seen him a lot onto this hero. I also think you're favoring because he is an NA Wester. But I think it is Appy Picker. He's going to do what he needs to do. He's a high level competitor. He's going to be able to pilot this hero just like any other hero. Maybe not as to the strengths of his howitzer or the Gideon, but I think he's still going to be able to make his play. And with that Narbash pick rounding out the side for D-Lab, we know this is also a nice comfort pick for Toasty, and this man is going to be able to give that sustain towards his team, and he has 2 big tanky frontliners to keep healed up in these fights.
I'm really liking that Narbash pick. We haven't really seen a whole lot, but I think in the case for D-Lab, it's probably one of the best supports they can pick up, because Doctors are really lacking that front line kind of capabilities. They're going to be kind of more easily to be blown up and poke out a lot, and I think Iggy's Scorch is not only a kind of good answer to the Ceres and pick. I think playing around the Iggy like poke damage and then keeping your team healthy with the Narbash here is gonna make it really hard for Doctors to last long in those like team fights. Like it's kind of forcing Doctors to just go in hard and go in fast, because if they don't do that, they're gonna really kind of get poked out super easily.
And we see the Grim in for the last pick. That is going to go into the hands of their new ADC Cure, former Smite professional incredible mechanically strong player, but we have the first set of teams that will take game 1 for our grand finals of PCC8. Who are you favor in F6?
I voted for D-Lab from the very start, and this draft is also convincing me. I think they just have a more rounded out build. They have the sustain, they have the dive, they have the peel, they have the sustained damage, the silent. They just have everything that you want out of a team fighting kit. And meanwhile, on the side of the Doctor, it just doesn't look as strong as D-Lab.
I have to completely agree with you there, F6. I think D-Lab just have a kind of the filthy team comp right here. I think the only saving grace of the Doctor's team cap is just, of course, the Gideon. Without the Gideon, I feel like Doctor's team fighting strategy just completely falls apart.
And that is it for our closing statements. There's nothing left to do but get down onto the map, start fighting for Fang Teeth, start fighting for objectives, and find out who's going to take the crown. We've got TJ and Tang ready to take this. Get your popcorn ready. It's gonna be a good one.
Thank you so much, Lance. Welcome everyone to the casting desk for Grand Finals. Dirty Lake and the boys versus the Doctors, the reigning champions from PCC7, looking to become the first team to go back-to-back. But the challengers, the Doctors, man, Tang, they have come out swinging. And you know what happens when we're both on the desk? It's an absolute banger of a series. And D-Lab versus Doctors, one of the hypest sets of all.
Yeah, definitely gonna be hype. Just before in the previous set, we did see Chefs dismantle in their previous series against the Professors. Now against D-Lab, I am afraid it's gonna be a different beast. D-Lab, Dirty Lakes and the boys definitely drafted themselves a filthy team composition as well. If we remember with that Narvish, that Aurora and that Iggy just having so much late game team fighting potential that I'm definitely a bit scared for the Chefs. But at the same time, like in the early game, in the early to mid game, I think they have a lot of pick potential in their heroes as well.
Oh, of course, and especially when we look at the players on these teams, we're getting the rosters in for the showcase, the climax here of PCC number 8 as well. The Doctors looking particularly at Mav on that jungle, one of these players that we want to highlight, especially coming in on that semi-final set versus the Professors. So the Doctors, you know, not afraid to get their hands dirty, kind of take the game by the scruff of the neck, but a little bit dicey against Professors. As you say though, D-Lab presents a little bit more of a different challenge here. And when we look at their composition, Tang, I think D-Lab have got a lot of comfort, but a few question marks on that Iggy and Scorch pick.
Yeah, so that Iggy pick definitely does work pretty well in their team composition. The bigger question mark is Epi Picker in the mid lane, usually one of the stars of the D-Lab roster, usually always has high damage, as we see him jump with Seismic in the mid lane. Always nice to see the sportsmanship coming out, but Epi Picker usually not really playing one of those facilitators, usually one of those picks that can actually do the playmaking. And now with that Iggy, he has to play a bit more back, has to respect the enemy team and has to wait for his own team to help him make those plays, set up around objectives, and just play with your turrets.
Of course, yeah. I mean, not being on that howitzer, not being on that Gideon, could throw a few wrenches in the side of D-Lab's plans here at least. And what we have seen from them, at least today and this weekend, is a slightly slower start to the game. It takes a little bit longer for D-Lab to come out of the gates, and it's really when we get fighting around those objectives, when the skirmishing can really begin. So maybe the Doctors have an opportunity here to leverage that in the laning phase. Lorba and Sneak's Terror versus this Seraph as well. Two standout offlaners duking it out in this right-hand side, and already Seraph is feeling the hurt.
Yeah, Seraph has been picked a lot as sort of a counter pick into the Terror that has been terrorizing that off lane, with that Seraph being able to dodge out on a few of those abilities. Also pretty safe, can disengage and then past that level 6 breakpoint with that ultimate of the Seraph can actually run down the Terror in situations as well that we did see in previous games. But so far not really finding much purchase in those early 2 levels. Did lose the trade to Lorba, but not the end of the world. Both junglers are just full clearing. Both started on the red side, now over towards the blue buff. It looks like Import already looking to get river control, making sure that Epi, his superstar mid laner, is feeling fine in the mid lane.
of course, taking him off something comfortable for Dirty Lake and the boys, making sure that Abby can still play this game and still find that value because he is against Cyan. I don't know what it is, Tang, but whenever Seismic is on the battleground in PCC, it's call it the PCC buff, call it semi-finals, whatever it is, Seismic really shows up when it matters. He's on a Gideon as well, so you can definitely see some fireworks from that mid laner.
Yeah, definitely can. I think Seismic so far has been having a stellar tournament with a few mishaps towards those early laning phases where he did get his blink used beforehand in the Professor series, I think twice in both games. This time against the Iggy, he is faring a lot better. And then once the late game comes around, if you have a Seismic in your team, that is definitely not anything to scoff at. Knows his positioning pretty well. But for Seismic in particular, he does have a bit of a different build on that Gideon. Usually we see people go for the True Silver Bracelet and go for sort of the team fighting sort of build on that Gideon. Instead, usually Seismic goes for that sort of pen build with the Time Warp, allowing him to get in and out, use his combo more effectively as well, and don't really play around his ultimate as much.
Might even be an angle for that Time Flux band to come in. Seismic goes in, goes out, and immediately hops back. Speaking of hopping around, Lorba's going to go for a blink onto what sneaks into the Heavens Fury. Help bars low. Sneak slams the door in Lorba's face. Solo Bolo in Grand Finals Game 1 goes the way it sneaks.
And that's why he picks the counter pick. Sneaks gets the 1 versus 1 completely dry, no contest. Lorba, good night. You can rest now. Sneaks crashes the wave afterwards. Is gonna let it bounce against him in a slow push. And that is already a bad sign for D-Lab. Docs picking up first blood. Fangtooth about to spawn Seismic like it is a clockwork. Looking towards the left-hand side, wanting to impact those side lanes. The one thing that Seismic is always known for.
Just wanted to make his presence known on that left-hand side. But both these junglers more than aware of the objective play when it happens. Import, one of the stellar ones here from EU as well. We've seen it time again in PCC, whether it be for even worse timing, whether it be for Deslake and the boys. They are on that objective so quick, and already he is on that left-hand side. Mav will be starting to shadow, of course, dealing with that 5 camp just after his blue buff as well. Both junglers in the vicinity, almost waiting for a bit of a flashpoint here. Mav has got an opportunity to go in, but there is a ward in the river, so Mav might need to get a bit of creative with this pathing. Lake Nature and Toasty should spot this one out before any trouble really happens.
Yeah, they will get zoned away from a few XP from a few CS, but honestly that is a trait that they just have to take. They know that the Ceres is in the vicinity and really smart of them to stand back. Now Mav has started up that Fangtooth. Import not in a position to actually contest this. Dual lane hasn't really spotted that out quite yet. Toasty knows something is up though. See, he camping in the river sort of shows that. The question is, what is gonna be the response? It doesn't really look like the side of D-Lab really wants to contest this. This one should go over cleanly to the docks.
It seems to be an opportunity as well with Dirty Lake and the boys, is they do take things a little bit slow. Granted, this is a bit uncharacteristic. Normally they're the ones who jump in, but Import's got eyes on that right-hand side, trying to help out Lorba in this lane. Hoarfrost is going to connect. Sneaks has the ult, but does not have any mana to really utilizing it. Going to have to burn that blink. So that's a blink on the right-hand side for the first neutral, going the way of the Doctors.
The Doctor's stellar early game so far. Sneaks on that off lane, buying so much space as he gets stunned on the turret, but Mav is there as well.
Looking for the re-engage. Lorba's got no blink, and the Spear of Near hurts so much from Mav. Mav's got a blink of his own, gets the kill onto Lorba, and Sneaks is going to get that Heresy ultimate, but Import's already made his way out of dodge, but the Doctors really coming out swinging here. 2 kills in the opening 7 minutes.
Yeah, 2 carries secured. A bit of an overstep by Lorba, trying to go for the crash now in the mid lane. Epi Picker using that ultimate to try to buy distance, but a good ultimate response by Gideon, dodging out of it, but still Iggy gets to safety by a really small margin there, makes it under the turret, escapes really by small margins, and is gonna be able to get a reset in a second after he catches the wave.
And just looking at this composition, Tang, you really get the sense that Mav and Zihi can really make the mid lane and the right-hand side of the lane so unforgiving as well. That's 2 big blink cooldowns on the side of Lorba, and now also on the side of that Iggy and Scorch as well. Mav starting this game off in a very commanding position, already taking out first Fangtooth. Now he's here for the mini prime at the 8-minute mark. Team is also in position as well. The Doctors really turning up to this grand finals game number 1 in style, and D-Lab looks like they're going to concede another neutral.
Yeah, so conceding there is always the correct choice. With that Iggy not having that ultimate blink up means he would be just free fodder, and Aurora also being on the other side of the map again. To reiterate the point from before, for D-Lab, it's not the end of the world falling behind early. I think chefs need to get ahead early, because just looking at those team comps, it's going to be a nightmare fighting into those heroes. But if the Dogs manage to build up a strong enough lead, then it's still going to be pretty hard for D-Lab to do anything in the late game, even with those heroes they drafted.
I really get the sense that when this composition gets rolling, when the ball starts going down that hill and the snowball begins, Deadslake and the boys are going to have a bit of a difficult time to fight in towards a skirmishing here. The likes, of course, of Mav on that Zarus. Got Sneaks on the Seraph, Seismic on the Gideon as well, can really start to carry the game in the mid-game stages of this game, as we are going to be approaching that in just a couple of minutes' time. But as you say, Deadslake and the boys, their composition rather disgusting. The later this game goes on, it kind of becomes a bit of an AFK comp. It almost plays itself.
Yeah, definitely does. I think the only thing that they need to worry about a tiny bit is the Seraph in that offlane. Lorba is actually not supposed to lose the matchup against the Seraph that hard, but getting solo killed before sort of swings the matchup super hard in Seraph's favor. Also, getting another assist after that second play as Lakenator gets caught in the dual lane, blink away used with the shrapnel cannon, but good gank coming in from the Seraphs.
And that's another cooldown going to be utilized here. This time going to be on Lakenator on that Drongo. Toasty is here just to top him up with that Narbash, but with the second Fangtooth a couple of minutes away, just seeing the signs, seeing the mission objective coming out here from the Doctors. They've started this game off very strong, but on the right-hand side, though, it looks like Sneaks is in a world of pain as Lorba's going to try and run him down, and Lorba's going to get the kill. Not quite, kind of a solo bolo and a half. I think Import was a little bit involved, but both bars are blinking. Sneaks is still causing problems now. Seismic, what can he do? Torn spaces forward. Lorba and Import are both going to counter the backs and get to a safe position. Neither can be picked off at this stage in the game.
Yeah, looks like Sneaks really wanted to get the tier 1 tower on the right-hand side. Did end up having to tank a gank from Import. Still almost won the 1 versus 2. Almost got an outplay, but in the end still dropping. Seismic is just going to push the wave in, collect the tier 1 tower for himself. Say thank you so much, Sneaks. I'm going to take that for myself. So same with the Zion buff. Typical mid lane behavior, honestly, but I think it's fine. Giving that over to Seismic, giving him a good reset, and then letting him reset for that Fangtooth that is about to spawn again.
You said it was like clockwork with how these teams play around the objectives. You see there with the reset coming out, takes tier 1 tower, takes Cyan, resets, and it's going to be all ready for this Fangtooth. Going to be spawning in a matter of moments, and Mav once again is here commanding the jungle from that Zarus roll, as we're going to get a nice cinematic angle as Fangtooth is here on the board, and the Doctors all over this pick as well. Looks like Lorba is going to be on that right hand side. Potentially another objective not going to be given for free here, as Import is around thinking about going in, but that Fangtooth goes down way too quickly. The Doctor's getting another unanswered objective. Lorba's looking to answer back, takes the tier 1 on the right hand side to answer that neutral, but a gank on towards the left hand side. They want even more. They want Lakenator. They're going to find it, but Toasty, big double knockup, crisis him on towards 2 members. Cure is low, but here comes Seismic. Here comes the mid laner. Black Hole on towards the backline, splits them in 2. Is a 1-4-1 as Import has now got options. A Hoarfrost will root up members, but he is the one going back to spawn. Mav gets yet another kill to his name. The Doctors, wow, this is how you start a grand finals.
Yeah, Doctor's fully in control. The only shining light is that Epipick is at least getting the mid tier 1. Lorber got the tier 1 on that right hand side. They traded for a few kills on the dual lane, and also the tier 1 tower might also be falling any second now. Epipick actually struggling to get the last hit. Should be getting it now though. But beforehand on that Fangtooth secure, we did see it off screen a tiny bit. Aurora already forced out, had the blink forced before with a good Colosseum coming in from Mav. So Mav, honestly, in the jungle 1 versus 1, sort of having import number at the moment, not allowing the Aurora even in the vicinity of the pit, getting the blink early, making any sort of steal really unfeasible for her.
And it's almost, dare I say, making Dirty Lake and the boys arguably feel a bit uncomfortable here as well. I mean, Import, ever the facilitator, always there at the right moment, likes to play on that right hand side towards a solo, and Lake and Toasty, one of the top tier dual lanes that we have in the Predecessor scene, are just almost allowed to kind of do their own thing, maybe get involved later here. But it just feels that with Appy on that mid laner, they have lost a lot of their identity. They might even be losing some structures here, as Size and ZT going to get some damage on towards the mid tier 1. Appy is also low as well. He can't defend this for too much longer.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're too keen on actually getting the tier 1 quite yet. Instead, they want to get a bit more gold before the mini prime fight starts up again. So far, they've claimed all 3 mini objectives that have spawns, but with that mini prime about to spawn in a few seconds, they really want to get that one as well, complete sort of the quadra objective take, and all of that against an Iggy, right? Usually Iggy, yes, he's sort of a late game hero, not really that strong early game, but we've seen teams really utilize his turrets to get those objectives, but Epipicker in the mid lane sort of not being allowed to actually move out of the lane, permanently getting shoved in by Seismic.
And I just like that from the Doctors to recognize kind of a bit of a weakness, a bit of a random uncomfortableness within the Dirty Lake and the boys squad. And they're really starting to make him pay as well. It just feels like the Doctors can never let up on the gas. They can never tire for one moment, because for Dirty Lake and the boys, if there is ever one team that is known for their comebacks, for the late game team fighting, it is Dirty Lake and the boys here. But right now, conceding a lot of objectives, conceding ground towards the Doctor's Tang, I'm wondering how much they can really give away as Import looking to make a gank over on the left hand side, taking down Cure. And looks like that is exactly what they're going to do. It's another trade for the mini prime. Dirty Lake and the boys are at least getting something out of these objective trades, whether it be structures or whether it be kills.
Yeah, getting 1 kill for it, but a bit of a misstep there by Cure as well, because the Aurora was actually on vision on the left-hand side, so he knew it was happening. Epipick in the mid lane, though, is getting caught by the Colosseum, but just knocks them away. Engage goes haywire. Mav going back to the tier 1, trying to claim that one. Now Sneaks is there.
He looking for a pincer as well, looking to try and get a kill on towards Appy, and he's oh so low. He's back to his base on a death timer. Doctor's really taking no prisoners, pulling no punches as well. Lorber doing damage, but so does Sneaks as well. Toasty healing him up. Seraph has to get away, but Mass Spear of Near gets the execute, and Lorber is down. Import wants to re-engage the Crisis and will hit on towards Mav. Does root him up for now, but can't connect the Hoarfrost, and Seismic was there, the torn space to get Mav in the Uber and out of danger.
And what a steal that is. The Doctors get away with murder there, getting the tier 1 and literal murder on 2 of the enemy's members. Epipicker and Lorber both go down in that dive. Mav barely escaping with the help of Seismic, using the torn space to full effect, getting his jungler out of danger. Now, a few ultimates were used there. TJ, now Cryocism is not going to be up for Import. Also no Colosseum for that Saris, but that should be up earlier. Import needs to make something happen this time. Third Fangtooth is going to be the target, but before that, Epipicker gets caught.
And that's going to be the mid laner down once again. It's a disaster because they've also lost Toasty in the middle of that engage. And the Doctors really going for the jugular here. Going to take another Fangtooth, 3 Fangtooths before the 20-minute mark. This is unheard of from the side of Doctors. And wow, what a way to start a grand finals.
I mean, D-Lab just with the comp that is supposed to be strong in the late game. What if the late game just doesn't arrive at all? 17 minutes in. all tier 1s are going to be claimed in a second, with this one falling on the left hand side as well. And such a big gold lead for the side of the Docks. Import so far not really making anything happen on that Aurora. Just Seraph everywhere on every lane, making stuff happen. Seraph as well on that offlane, transitioning the lead over to those objectives and making the team of Docks pick up all of those objectives, making them win those team fights as well.
I think it's kind of crazy as well to do this against Dirty Lake and the boys. You know, I harp on this a lot, but I have to reiterate. They are your defending champions. They have been playing so well all tournaments, especially coming out of the Swiss, going through quarters. But there was a little bit of a rockiness there. They did drop game 1 to Rogue in their semi-final matchups. Granted, of course, they did grow into that series, and that is why they're here to defend their title. But with the way the Docks are playing and with the way they're forcing D-Lab to almost try and find a response, there's nothing they can do here. I gotta ask you the question, Tang. I mean, what options do Dirty Lake and the boys really have here?
So I think that third game against Rogue, Dirty Lake and the boys were on the ropes as well. I think they were down 3 Fang Teeth. They were down a lot of gold, a lot of kills as well. And then the comeback started. The fight around Primal Fang, I think, was the trigger for D-Lab to actually make it back and to end up winning that series. And I think this time they just have to do the same, because if that Primal Fang goes over to the side of Docks, you gotta think that it is good night for them. Same with that big Prime. If they get any of those big objectives, then they can just snowball their lead even further. But before that, we see Chefs just walk into the red side jungle of D-Lab, not respecting them whatsoever, because they don't need to. They're so much stronger. They want to abuse that as long as they can.
Got a level lead in the mid lane. Junglers even a level on an off lane. I'm just seeing Lorber going low as this endless battle between the off lanes carries on. Sneaks blinks away. Lorber with the reckless assault to follow. Highland Hurl is going to land. Going to throw the axes, trying to get the damage. Sneaks looks for an outplay, but Lorber gets a solo kill. And now Seismic might be caught out of position because D-Lab safety in numbers. What can they do as Seismic goes back in with the black hole, causing problems. Toasty in the crash bang boom. Going to knock up on towards side and get the mid lane, and this will be massive, and it goes the way of Toasty here. What about the team fight? Because Import had the criticism in his pocket the entire time. Maybe this is going to be the fight, or maybe this is where Cure comes in and stops it all. But this Grim has got so much work to do because 3 members have already dropped the AoE. The team fight and the focus coming out from D-Lab has been too much. Import is going to drop. The Grim is here, but it's not here quick enough to stop 3 members of the Doctors falling.
And that's honestly a giant win for D-Lab, 3-4-2. And they also got the tier 2 tower on the right hand side, with Lakenator not even being close enough to help out. So a lot of money over towards the side of D-Lab, also securing a few of those shutdowns for themselves. Now scoreline 10-6, tier 2 claimed on the left hand side. And TJ, you were saying it before, Lakenator not really showing too much quite yet in this match, but with that gold injection from that tier 2, able to get a lot of solo XP as well, level 12. I'm really hoping for D-Lab that this Drongo can actually show us something.
There is a reason that we have seen that their team name, D-Lab, is Dirty Lake and the boys. Lakenator, the talisman ADC, and to be honest, ADCs at the moment have been a little bit outshined in this tournament. A lot of the action going on the opposite side of the map. 2v2 kind of feels like that island in a lot of these games here, but now I say it's up to Lakenator to really start to leave his mark here. But going for the Doctors, I think this is only a very slight step back. Sure, it's not going to be exactly what they wanted, as you said. Shutdown's being given away, Lakenator getting that tier 2 as well, but the Doctors still remain in control here, and looks like they're going to start up an early or Prime.
And over on the left hand side, it's going to be a bit late for this one. Prime started up, 4 members in the pits, and Mav in the front line. Import knows what's up, Sneak Gold.
Glacial Charge is going to go through as the Prime. We do not know the health bars just yet, but Import's still in the pits here. But Sneaks goes on towards Lakenator. Coliseum down from Mav, looking to turn, looking to try and get a kill on towards the jungler. But that's going to be Sneaks down. That's also going to be Mav falling as well. And is this the fight Dirty Lake and the boys were looking for? Because they're still on the Prime. They're still dealing the damage, and they're still going to get that objective. Import drops down, but the purple buff is on the side of D-Lab, and the Doctors get wiped out of nowhere.
And all 5 of them fall. Only Imports, the only one falling on the other side. And then Lakenator, I think, with the Shrapnel Cannon just executes that Big Prime as well. Now 11 to 11, 22 minutes in, with a comp that is just supposed to roll over anybody in the late game. D-Lab clawing the sort of a way back to victory. Now pushing down that mid lane is Lorber with that prime buff, but more importantly, Primal Fangtooth being started up, being secured in a second by D-Lab.
Oh, they just can't keep getting away with this tank. They just can't keep getting away with this. But here we are, 11 kills each. Primal Fangtooth secured for the side of Dirty Lake and the boys. Again, with how the Doctors were playing, I said that they were in control before, but this is a massive roadblock. Because as you said, right at the start of the game, this comp kind of plays itself a little bit AFK. It just needed to get rolling. It needed to get through the early game. And with that transition of pet play, I think we're at this situation now. It's on to the Doctors to try and figure out how to get out of this problem.
Yeah, suddenly, like, we had a bit of a tap screen there, and we saw suddenly Lakenator so far ahead of Q. Now Sihi, the one getting caught, Import Cryocism onto the Decker. Sihi just there to watch as he explodes. Q in the vicinity, but it's not enough. Primal Fang already used, and now they're pushing down the mid lane, pushing down the right-hand side. The question is, TJ, how much can they actually get?
Well, it's going to be that tier 2 tower for now in the mid lane. Lorber pushing that right-hand side. And seems that the Doctors are going to respect this. They go back towards their inhibitor line. All members grouping up here to try and answer in the mid lane. Zihi back in 13 seconds. Up to D-Lab. How much more do they decide to go for? Import going to use a glacial charge. Trying to split a member away, but Import's going to get isolated here. Import might gone in way too deep as the Heaven's Fury comes out from Sneaks. Sneaks looking for the kill, but Sneaks can't find it. But Sai with the black hole going to force out the Epoch. Doctors want this fight. They see low health bars, but they're also seeing Lorber run into their face and hit them like a freight train on that Terra off lane. They're going to take the inhib. They're going to take this Grim down. Cure will fall. Zihi is back wondering what on earth happened, but Dirty Lake and the boys with the All Prime buff, with the combat complete, they're looking onto the core. Is this the end of the game, Tang?
It does certainly look like a Lakenator finishing off the core with a few more shots, and in I don't know, like DJ, in like a twist that nobody could have predicted. Within 3 minutes, the game completely turns. Like 3 minutes ago, we were like, what can D-Lab do to not lose the game? And suddenly, we get to the end screen. Suddenly, it's over. It's over.
My word, I don't think anyone was expecting that. I certainly wasn't. I don't think you were expecting that, Tank. I don't think our viewers were watching it. But man, Dirty Lake and the boys, I did say, never count out Dirty Lake and the boys. But honestly, I was wondering if that would cash in probably about 30 minutes into the game. 32 minutes, maybe an All Prime, maybe a Steal, something like that. But not All Prime fight into Primal, into Tier 2 Inhib, and then Core. Wow. That's how you answer back. I mean, Doctors, credit to them, man. They were in control until they weren't, really.
Yeah, honestly, like they played stellar, and then one overstep at the prime fight. Sihi getting caught there at the end as well, and then suddenly, yeah, Import, he just doesn't care. He's just gonna dive you under inhib. I'm sure there comes with something like that. Import guy is trolling, and suddenly your entire team is dead. They have an Iggy, they have Drongo, they have Primal Fang, and they just have your number. And first game goes over to D-Lab with that one. Doctors, though, in that early game looked so stellar.
I mean, they certainly had their number, but of course it's going to be Dirty Lake and the boys with the happier number than that. One game up, but this is a best of 5. It is not a sprint, it is a full-on marathon. Plenty more Predecessor in this one, and honestly, game one's anything to go by. This is going to be a grand final you do not want to miss. But for the post-game breakdown, it's back to the desk to break down game 1.
What a game. I am still processing this in a little bit of disbelief. It looks like the Doctors are primed, ready to take game 1, have a big lead, take a weird fight around Prime, end up not getting to the positions they want to be in, and it all just slips away. F6, how did Dirty Lake and the boys get themselves in there?
Because Seismic was in the outside of the pit. I mean, waiting for a good engagement, but at the end of the day, that walled off to stop the damage from going through, and then Mav got just 1v1 with the Aurora. They were able to burst him down, and then both junglers out of that fight just allowed for them to do there. Then Lauber with that late rotation came in full health, full mana, and was allowed to change that fight. It just pretty much put D-Lab back on the board. And as you saw in the last 3 minutes, like Atang was saying, they just flipped the script.
And this is actually really unfortunate because I thought the Doctors were doing really good. They were able to secure all 3 Feint Tools. They were on point of the early mid game. They just dropped the ball really hard as soon as they decided to do all Prime. But not even that, I kind of noticed that there was some kind of miscommunication going on in that all Prime fight. They kind of sealed the deal this first game well. I saw half of the Doctors kind of went in to contest Professors, and then I see like the whole idea of like the Decker and Grim still on that objective, right? So it's just like I feel like if Kyo got off of that objective and helped his team, I think that team fight could have gone way different than what we saw.
If this is any indication of what this final set is going to be like, we have got a banger ready for you. We're going to take a short break, give these players a chance to reset themselves, regroup for game 2. We'll be right back with it though. Welcome back, Predecessor family, once again. That was game 1 of our grand finals. Felt like Doctors were in control of it early, had the 3 Fang Teeth. One team fight goes the wrong direction. D-Lab runs it right up your mid lane, straight to your core, puts it at 0%. How can they keep the momentum they've gotten from game 1 here with Dirty Lake and the boys in order to stretch this series and try to end it early, get that repeat championship, F6?
I mean, it's just them prioritizing a little bit more cleaner comms there. I think, like Joey was pointing out earlier, when the game just ended, is there was some miscommunication going on throughout that or Prime fight. They needed to get themselves back together, though, after that mistake. They still had a chance to keep themselves in the game, but I think everything just went downhill from there, and pretty much D-Lab just ran straight down through the mid and just ended the game in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, and all that happened after I felt like D-Lab was a little bit weaker in the early to mid game. What I kind of want to see from D-Lab is to get a lot more aggressive on the objectives, because it's very obvious that Doctors is not scared at all to get aggro on all those like objectives. I think if D-Lab can like match that aggression, I think that's going to make the time for the Doctors even harder going into the second game.
I think so too, and we don't want to waste any time. We want to get straight into the second game. The picks and bans are coming out. If it were me and I was Dirty Lake and the boys, yes, they won that first game, but I feel like they need to prioritize Appy in this. He did have that impact on the Iggy. I'd like to see him on a more comfort hero for him, something that we're more familiar with him seeing. F6, do we expect to see Terra be picked up right away or banned?
I'm expecting the Zarus ban to come out immediately here. I still think he's still one of those stronger picks from the side of Doctors, but they actually choose to ban the Howie again, so they're focusing down Appy Picker. We saw this throughout the last draft phase, but we saw how that game went. Yes, you got the early game, but you guys broke down and then allowed the Iggy, because Appy Picker did not play bad. He had some great plays, and he was allowed to still facilitate inside that game.
Kind of interested to see the Terra ban come from D-Lab, because I thought they were doing fine on that pick earlier. I think like one of the better picks coming from Doctors was the Sarah, so I felt like that would have been a smarter ban than the Terra, but immediately we're going to see Doctors lock in the Sarah's first pick. Nothing too new right here. What it's going to be interesting to see is if D-Lab is going to prioritize the mid lane roster, because we saw what happened in the first draft where Appy Picker kind of got his mid roster squeezed a little bit too thin, but instead we're going to see Dronga and Aurora being first to pick.
And for me, you see the Terra ban, to me that's indicative of the fact that they're trying to lock in this Sevarog for Lauber, get themselves into a comfy spot to move up 2-0, as Lauber just doesn't lose when he's on that hero. Instead, we're going to get the Aurora and the Drongo, a little bit of counterplay for the Zarus.
I mean, you don't see Sneaks playing Sev over off into the off lane, so it's pretty safe for them. As soon as that Howie ban was popped up, ban out Terra, get Lauber on his Sevarog. I mean, he's just an absolute monster in both, so either way they're looking good. But going into the second round of picks here, Doctors are going to be in an uncomfortable situation. They gave up the Aurora to counter that Zarus, so that's already one down. But oh, whoa, hello, mark my words, apparently they do want the Sevarog.
Yeah, that is actually quite surprising. So surprising the fact that I think D-Lab was just not expecting at all. They thought they're going to be able to yoink the Sevarog, because I don't think anyone from Doctors really have a strong showing of like the Sevarog pick, but I guess in the second game we might get our mind change and we're going to see Doctors locking in that gadget. because definitely if D-Lab doesn't pick the mid lane right now for Appy Picker, you sure as heck can say that they're just going to ban out the mid lane again.
You sure can. And the Potented, we've seen it work every single time. It's the Lance F6 lane with the Zarus and the Gadget, baby.
Yeah, I mean, that dynamic duo never misses, and a big counter towards him as well. Not only the Aurora, but the Sevarog with the Colossal Blow and the Gadget with the Tesla Dome already on their side. They're looking good. But D-Lab chooses to ban out the Kira here to just take it away from Kira and picking up that Gideon, which we do know Gadget kind of counters, but if he's able to get high enough just right above that Tesla Dome, might be able to change these fights even in that Coliseum.
And we see over here that Doctor is going to go off to ban the Mirio. I think Mirio is like a hero that does so well in this tournament, along as her team has enough CC. And especially like a Mirio that can like ult the Gideon or what we're going in. It's such a deadly combo. So I do like this Mirio ban right there from the Doctors. And so all we have left is just trying to pick up the dual lane for the Doctors. We're seeing D-Lab picking up Narbash right here, which again, like that's going to be a very good pickup for Toasty and kind of almost look very similar to the team drop they did right here.
And I expected the Decker to come out from Doctors here. They're going to pair it up with Grim too. I do want to point out before I pass this to F6, Narbash was the most banned hero from the side of the from the side of D-Lab, so interesting to see them playing it now.
I mean, I think they're just picking their poison. If they can't have it, they won't let anybody else have it, right? But I mean, picking up the Grim into that Narbash is a good counter, but also the Decker, being able to kind of just lock the Narbash down and the Drongo inside of a little tiny containment fence, and then biding some time for the rest of the team to rotate, maybe drop a Coliseum on them. I think right now, Doctors have a very solid draft going into game number 2, looking to secure another victory to try and get themselves at least tied up.
And the last pick that we're going to see from D-Lab is Quan. I'm actually quite liking both team comps. The first draft, I wasn't as big a fan of the Doctor's draft, but now it's like looking like they are cooking up something pretty dang good right here, I must say.
Both of these team comps look very formidable. Looks like they got a lot of the strengths, a lot of the heroes both of them like to play. F6, which way are you leaning with these rosters?
Zarus is my favorite hero, and since this is so tight, I'm gonna have to just go with the Doctors. I think Doctors have an all-around comp, able to facilitate for each other, and in that 5v5 team fight, they're gonna be looking like they're gonna hurt a lot.
This is a tough choice for me, but I'm still going to go with the Doctors on this one. We saw how good the early mid game was, and the only reason why they lost us because they dropped the ball pretty hard on that last team fight in Old Prime. I think if they can eliminate that mistake, I think they can come in really strong going to the second game right here.
Toasty, make note, F6 just picked Doctors over you. We're going to kick it to TJ and Tang for game 2.
Thank you so much, Lance, and welcome everyone to the Battleground for game number 2 here of our best of 5 grand finals between Dirty Lake and the boys and the Doctors. And I don't know about you, Tang, I'm still recovering from an absolutely crazy ending to game number 1. It seems there's now the teams in the game 2 draft really wanting to change up too much with this draft, still keeping a lot of their identity.
And keeping the main fights for D-Lab, though, we do see a few adaptations in that mid lane, getting that Gideon a bit earlier and then trading that Terror for that Quang, even though they would have liked to get the Terror, but just not able to with that ban coming in. But I think for D-Lab, like the last game they did win, right? Like you were saying it, like we're still sort of reeling from that last game, but I think for D-Lab it's a real scare, right? Like they were pretty far behind. Them winning that game was sort of an upset, not really something we can expect, and they are realizing that as well with that Gideon in the mid lane on Epi now has a bit more agency, and I'm really hoping to see a bit more out of him in this game.
We saw from the Doctors say that they definitely understand that they want to target Appy. I mean, not just taking away his howitzer from the inner draft phase, but also targeting him as well. In terms of the actual gameplay as well, are we expecting Appy Pick to still be the main focal point of a lot of Doctors' attacks?
I think as the Gideon, he's pretty safe, so I doubt it. I think last game it just is what it is when those blinks are being burned early. I think it's just very natural for the junglers to attack those points. I think this time, like, maybe we can take our focus somewhere else, but honestly it just depends on how those trades go. Like, we're looking at it right now on that offlane, for example, Lorbeck and Sneaks both are pretty full HP, right? But the second that changes, we will see those sort of jungle pathing change. We would see Aurora, for that Import is piloting again, make the way over. We would see Mav make the way over. So it all sort of depends on how those trades go.
I mean, just going to that offlane matchup between Lorber and Sneaks as well. I mean, Lorber got a pretty good perspective on this matchup in the Sevarog versus the Quang pick, especially when he was going up against Bondrude in that matchup here. But this time, completely different. So he's going to be playing that Quang. And looking where Import is currently pathing towards, maybe that Sevarog is going to be in for a bit of a world of pain. Also seeing the heavy trades coming out here from Cure and Zihi, just hopping over towards Import, taking that free camp. Bit of a common play for Import. Perhaps looking towards Sneak, so maybe even just showing face to try and get a bit of pressure over towards Lorber to make sure he can keep up this attack.
Yeah, and he has to crash the wave. That one is gonna shove into Sevarog. So Import taking the Cyan buff. Looks like he is griefing the offlane a tiny bit, but no, he is just helping the Quang out in case Saris actually makes the rotation over. Aurora would be there to handle any sort of aggression. And with them playing it like that, Quang gets a good base with with a crash of the wave, and Import fortunately gets the Cyan buff, because as the Aurora, he really wants to have the Cryosystem up as soon as possible, get that level 6 to try to impact those team fights a little bit better than last game.
And just switching over towards the other side of the map here, I know in game number 1 we spoke a lot about mid lane, jungle and solo. Those seem to be the 3 most important roles in PCC8 with how these games are going. So I want to give a bit of love over towards our duo lane, Cure Zihi versus Lakinator and Toasty. If we're expecting them to be a little bit more isolated, what do you think about this 2v2? How do you rate these duo lanes against each other?
So far, what we've seen from Lakinator and Toasty is that they don't really want to interact too much on lane. They are fine scaling into the late game, and then Lakinator will just be a powerhouse with Toasty on the Narbash providing all that healing. So I think that is their main game plan for the most part. Just making sure that they keep the wave neutral, make sure that they don't overstep, don't die for any sort of CS that they would maybe have to drop. Instead, just play it safe, make sure that the rest of the team sort of is not handicapped by a duo lane that is losing.
Just having a little look across the board with the map where the junglers are both in asymmetric sides of the map to each other, both in their red jungles, going on to their second clears through. Or the Fangtooth spawning in 10 minutes. Of course, Mini Prime going to be about 2 minutes, 10 seconds away here. Import once again over towards that right-hand side, putting a lot of stock in towards this offlane, making sure that Lorber is not going to be too make sure that Sneaks not going to be too happy as the Horvath's going to tag Import, goes for the blink, but Sneaks has got a good reaction, able to blink away himself. But if Import shows right, Mav's going to show left, immediately starting up this Fangtooth again.
And I'm getting flashbacks from that first game. At least no kills happening in isolation so far, but still, Mav and Seismic are going to be able to start this one up with the prio they have on the duo lane as well. Should be able to pick that up any second now. Aurora is going to steal away a few jungle camps in that blue side, so it's going to mean that Mav does not have anything to do for the next few seconds. That is the only thing they really get though, because Mav again picking up first Fangtooth.
Then look towards Appy Picker as that security gate is going to tag onto the route for Appy here. Of course, he is on a Gideon. He's not going to be too worried about that, and also knowing that he has got Import inside of the jungle as well. Trying to pull a little bit ahead. You can see level 5 on Import to level 4 of Mav as well, but his play towards the Fangtooth, getting it for the team as well. Once again, seeing the Dirty Lake and the boys not afraid to trade objectives for cross-map plays as well, especially if it's going to help them out in the long run here, Tang. Maybe they're going to need to look again to that right-hand side.
Yeah, this time with the Mini Prime about to spawn, this gank would be a bit more fruitful. Also no blink up on Sneaks, no level 6 quite yet either. So that Sevarog is definitely a target for Import that is going to make his way closer to the Shadow Wall.
He has got his ultimate, got a Crisis Sim available. Sneak's going to use that dash. Lorba can't connect to the Tether though. An Import can't find the Glacial Wall, but there is the Hoarfrost and there is the ultimate Colossal Blow. Back Import under the tower. He's got no blink, so Import's going to go low. And now Mav is here looking to make them pay. Import goes into the dirt, and now Mav wants even more. He's on the hunt for Lorba, and he's got Seismic rotating here as well. The Blast Flower gets a little bit of distance, but roots into Tesla Dome, into a Mav Spear of Near. Once again, Zarus gets the double in the right-hand side of the first blood.
Get first blood, they get second blood. They also had Fang Tooth secured from before, and now they're in prime position to look for that mini prime again. And TJ, I hate to say it, but I'm seeing sort of flashbacks to game one, at least the early game. Doctors again, stellar performance. Sneak spying so much time, just barely ticking over to level 6. And with Toasty missing his tether, missing his ultimate, and Imports getting knocked under turret, under tier 1, just getting cleaned up by Seismic and Mav on the rotation. So a lot of kills going over again. They don't really do anything with their big team fighting ultimates as well. The Criticism is now down, so is that Fury of the Heaven from that Quang. So now the question is, what does Saras want to do in that window? Does he want to already start up the mini prime? We see the rotation over actually. Dual lane make their way over to the mini prime, so that looks to be the target.
Looks like they have an opportunity here as Zihi is just going to make it over that wall, so I'm going to probably scuff the knee on the top of the wall here. Seismic over here. There is a push going on towards the solo lane, but just sheer weight of numbers coming out from the Doctors means that Dirty Lake and the boys are not going to attempt any way to steal away the mini prime here. They have got options on who to give it towards. It looks like Sneaks might be the one who gets the mini prime gifted over to them as well, just to try and relieve a bit of pressure on that right hand side. Gets the mini prime. Mav sees opportunity. The Colosseum follows the surge through, and now Lorba might be caught, but a good Fury of the Heavens able to get him away from the Colosseum. He takes a displacement orb, which just pushes him a little bit further back towards his tower, but the objective goes the way of the Doctors.
But funnily enough, him getting caught there is actually good for D-Lab because it delays those backs, and on the left-hand side we can see D-Lab pushing down the first tier 1 tower. So that is actually a positive play for them. They give up the mini prime for that one though. We did see last game Chefs managing to open up the map a lot, getting those tier 1s early. Now Sneaks on that off lane. No blink up quite yet. Colossal Blow is the only sort of thing he has up, and Import knows that is the case, and it's just gonna show his presence, but not even attempt a gank.
I mean, we would be forgiven for getting flashbacks of game number 1 with the objective trades, with some of the pathing here as well, and maybe Import getting a bit of flashbacks to what happened underneath that tier 1 tower, decides to think better of it, go back into his jungle, go back to farming as well, maybe look towards this left-hand side as Cure and Zihi back over towards a dual lane, Lake and Toasty, free farming on this left-hand side to take down the tier 1 tower. I do like Tang that Des Lake and the boys are still able to get trades here, but as you say, it's up to them to really make something meaningful out of it.
Zihi might be in a bad spot. Import is there. Blink used by Zihi to get to safety, and he makes it out. Import, Toasty, and Lakinets are not able to pick up that kill, but yeah, going back to what they got, right? On the left-hand side again, Lakinator doesn't get his gold from team fights. Instead, he gets it from just destroying structures, as in the first game. But I think once he gets those item breakpoints, that's when he can really show his worth. Last game, he did steal that prime with his shrapnel cannon, and definitely a scary sort of player to get ahead. Now Cure might be in a bad spot. Import is there.
Grim doesn't really have much in the way of mobility. Got a deflector shield. He's going to use it to get away from that funk. Crisis connects, but Blink comes through and he's still going to get rooted. Import's going to follow it through. Hits him up with the Hoarfrost. Hits him up with the Boreal Sweep as well. Basic attacks trying to stack and Toasty. The crash bang boom comes down to Cure and he's going to drop. But the Doctors are here. Reinforcements. The Colosseum is going to stack on towards that Drongo. But Sai also losing his life though. It's a 2 for 2. But the rotation from the offlaner. Sneaks is here. Starting to hit the damage on towards Appy Picker. Toasty uses the Song of the People just to get Appy away from danger. Sneaks gonna follow through the torn space to Blink, looking for the pick on towards Appy Picker. Colossal Blow. Sneaks is able to get the stack with the Siphon Soul, and he's still healthy enough to deal with the 1v2. Zihi getting involved, throwing long-range stasis bombs, but the call is to back away, and it was an extended play of action. Lorba on the hunt for Zihi, but not gonna find that Decker.
So honestly, pretty hard to keep track, but I think it was a 3-4-2. Now Cure wants to get one more for them. Lorber is gonna make it to safety though, but I think the bigger target here is again the Fangtooth having respawned in the meanwhile, as we see a really nice replay there. Big shoutouts to Choice on the production side, but now we see both teams group up around that Fangtooth pit. This is gonna be spicy. 2 Fangtooth is gonna be the goal for the chefs. Math is in the front line.
That's going to get caught out by the Hoarfrost, but he's able to get towards his team, able to get to 4 members of the Doctors. I don't think Import was expecting that, and Deadslake and the boys will lose their jungler with the Fangtooth on the table as well. Looks like the call from Deadslake and the boys is to back away. I am seeing Lorber going back towards the right-hand side, but the Doctors don't immediately start up onto that Fangtooth either.
Yeah, and I really like that, to be honest, because last game they sort of burnt their fingers trying to do those objectives when they didn't really have the advantage. This time Mav was in base. He was 1 HP after they got the pick onto Import, so instead they wait for him to actually make his way back, make sure that Seismic is not able to steal, not Seismic, but Epi is not able to steal that one away as the Gideon. So with this one, they are gonna secure that 8% movement speed out of combat. Now see, he gets caught. Epi Picker uses the black hole through the wall. Sihi still running away. Epi Picker needs to connect with one more ability, but Sihi is gonna escape.
Just able to get the distance, avoiding that Cosmic Rift and the Void Breach as well. Import going to take that River Camp away from Seismic on the right hand side, trying to keep themselves in the game. 6 kills to 2 at the moment here, but the way that this map is looking, Tang, feels relatively even here. I'm looking towards the towers, and it seems you have a bit of a diagonal trade here. Tier 1 tower in the dual lane taken by Deadslake and the boys, for the Doctors losing their Tier 1 tower in the right hand side as well. What's been your assessment of the game at 13.5 minutes in?
Yeah, so this time D-Lab faring a bit better than first game, but honestly that doesn't really say anything, because the first game was pretty hard to watch in those early stages of the game. This time, again, all objectives over to the Dogs, 2 Fangtooth and a Mini Prime, but Q again on that side lane gets caught. Sihi, no blink, is in a bad spot as well.
Well, that's definitely going to help with the assessment towards Deadslake and the boys. That is a kill in an isolated 2v2 as well. Quite apparent that Lake Nation and Toasty have got the number of the Doctors duo lane. Seismic will be over here. So is Epi Picker as well. Zihi is kind of caught out. He's trying to get away, trying to get to safety, but might know that his life is slipping away. And it looks like he's just going to get who gets the kill. But Toasty is the one who takes it himself. That could have been a lot worse, Tang.
Yeah, it could have been worse, but honestly, getting a bit of gold onto Toast is not bad either on that Narbash. Getting a bit more tankiness translates into more tankiness for the team as well, with that healing keeping everyone up. Now for Lorber on that off lane, Ceres making his way over.
Mav's got Colosseum, Sneaks has got a Colossal Blow as well. Lorber already used that Surge, Subjugate going to land. It's up to the Chain CC from the side of the Doctors, and they're going to prescribe a bit of body blocking as well. Lorber with the Blink Away, Seeking Destroy over the top of Mav, was waiting for it. The Colosseum comes down, and Lorber can't get over the wall. Mav gets another stack on his Colosseum ultimate.
And I love that gameplay by the Ceres, waiting for that blink to come out before he actually uses that Colosseum to make sure that Lorber not only wastes his blink, but also can't escape the Colosseum. So Ceres really stellar performance again, 5-2, just sort of running the match again. I'm really getting flashbacks from that first game. I hate to say it again, but I just need to. Lakinator though, in the meanwhile, sort of the dark horse for D-Lab, like in last game. Like once he got those few items, I think the 3-item breakpoint was the difference, where suddenly Lakinator was just winning the fights for the side of Docs. Now Mini Prime is being started up, but they want to get a pick first.
In the river, that might be the location of it. I'm seeing Sneaks going for a bit of an audacious pincer here towards Toasty in the mid lane. Deadslake and the boys not really going to bite just yet. Subjugate will connect on towards Toasty, but Sneaks not going to find a pick on towards the Orc with the drum kit. Mav actually going to start up this Mini Prime as well, and it seems Deadslake and the boys are either moving away and not aware this has been started, or again they're going to concede this objective, Tang. But even with the pick going their way, I'm not seeing D-Lab actually trade it for anything. No, it looks like the Doctor's going to get a net positive from this play.
Yeah, so this time we do see Cure from base run instantly towards the left-hand side. If we remember to last game, Lakenator was able to get the tier 2 on that second mini prime take. This time, good defense by Docs, making sure that they're not sort of losing anything on the cross trade while they are securing those objectives. So 4 objectives so far have been claimed by the Docs. Nothing quite yet by Dealer, but with that Fang 2 fight around the corner again, you gotta think that for D-Lab that really needs to change.
And it is such an important point to mention as well here, as Lakenator's going to find himself hit by the Colosseum. Mav going for the gank. The play on towards Lakenator. Colosseum, GTFO, and Mav going to get the kill. 6-0-2 on Nazara. So Docs are still running the show. Make no mistake about that here. By the time we talk about the mental, because there are some ghosts coming back from game number 1. How do the Doctors make sure the same thing doesn't happen again?
Yeah, so I think they just need to be a bit more patient in those objective fights, but also like there's no Iggy on the enemy team. I think that hero just deals so much invisible damage, sort of has more carry potential in those late game team fights than the Gideon does. But for this pick actually onto Lakenator, good play by Lakenator to not use his shrapnel cannon there, because he was dead anyways. Now he is gonna have that up for that Fang 2 fight at the very least. No Colosseum on Mav. Import in the front line is gonna use the wall to sort of split the fight. Sneaks is looking for Lorba.
Subjugate is going to land, so is the Stasis Bomb. Bit of damage on towards Lorba. Sneaks still in the backline looking for a Colossal Blow target, but there's going to be a Blink to get away in the Black Hole coming out from Appy on this Gideon. The Tessadome splits the fight by size. We can deal so much damage back, and the Doctors looking to pile on the damage because they have taken out Lorba. Sneaks is too low. Sneaks is out of this fight. There's now both teams jockeying for position around the terrain. Sneaks going forward, very, very dangerous here, and he's actually going to lose his life for it as well. That's going to be a 2-for-2 outside of the Fangtooth pit. Import is down though. Mav's still here, but health bars are low. Looks like both teams want to take the reset, and we might be back here for a round 2 around that Fangtooth.
I really don't like Epipicker and Toasty not resetting. They could get the tier 1 in the mid lane, but does it really matter? Now Cure is there, does not have mana, but still is gonna secure sort of the tier 1 from being taken. But now the respawn timers are a bit delayed. Narbash and Gideon have to channel the recall. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is respawning. This gives Doctors sort of prime position to start up that Fangtooth instantly.
And immediately, that is exactly what they're going to do. Mav here with Cure. Import's going to arrive, but Lakenator takes a very delayed reset as Import's going to jump in towards the pit here, but he is currently on his lonesome here, and the Doctors going to back away, going to make Import waste that cooldown before jumping back on towards the Fangtooth. I'm loving the restraint, I'm loving the discipline here, but I'm loving Lorba going onto the backline. But the Colosseum I love even more from Mav on towards Lorba. They're going to try and burn through the solo laner. Appy Picker, the Black Hole comes in, but is it going to be clutch enough? It doesn't look like it, as the members of the Doctors split and run for the hills. Toasty, the Crash Bang Boom, sets up Zihi to drop as Lakenator gets that kill. And now Dirty Lake and the boys have an opening here at the start of the Fangtooth pit, and they're the ones that are going to start it, but Mav is still around, so is Sneaks, so is Psy, but the resources are low. Import will wall off the pit, going to make sure a blink has to be used as the Fangtooth will be secured, but can they get out torn space to get everyone over? Lakenator can't make it over the pit. Lakenator's left on his own in an island, and he will drop for it, but the rest of the D-Lab squad could get away.
Lakenator, the only one that just didn't train his legs in the gym, the only one not making the jump out of the Fangtooth pit, is gonna be secured over to the side of Docs, but more importantly, Fangtooth secured by D-Lab and with a good port, so most of them make it out to safety. And I think in this team fight particularly, the one that actually carried the fight was the Narbash, just providing so much healing, and you could see the health bars going lower and lower onto Mav, onto Sneaks, but Import just permanently being healed up by Toasty, the Appy Picker always being full HP, with the Narbash providing that Song of the People, providing that regen to make sure that his team can stay in those fights when Doctors couldn't. First Fangtooth for themselves claimed, and that is a different story than first game.
Well, I mean, at this point in the last game, 30 seconds, we should be on an all prime. That's going to be stolen away by a Drongo, and then it's going to be a primal, and then we know how this dance is going to play out here. But it's up to the Doctors to to not make sure that happens again. That's a bit of an obvious thing to say as well, but I think when we talk about the mental behind this game, of course, a lot of it is played on the battleground, but sometimes it's the war of the minds. The Doctors, with D-Lab able to come from behind and able to really deal a knockout blow in such quick succession, it's up to the Doctors to show that mental strength to get over it, and remember that there is still a best of 5 and still a lot more Predecessor to play.
Definitely is, and I think they're definitely not too scared. Like Mav 6-0-6 against Lorber 0-4-0, like he's definitely smurfing. Toasty though in the mid lane is getting caught and exploded. Microwave used on the big orc, and that is a kill going over to Seismic, pushing down the mid lane next. Cure, 4 members in the mid lane looking to potentially go for the tier 1, but see, he is caught.
So he uses the Rift Walker's play, gets Import and also Lorber together. Mav throws down the Colosseum looking towards Lakenator, but Lakenator still staying alive. Mav blinks away as Import was looking for an angle to deal with that Drongo as well. Could be the grouping up from the Doctors. Another Stasis Bomb lands, but there's Lake and the boys able to regroup here as the Doctors try to pull the trigger, but they're not going to get any further picks, and Toasty will be coming back from base.
Yeah, Toasty will make it back, but left-hand side, Severok did manage to shove in the wave, not getting any turrets quite yet. Tier 1s, almost all of them have been claimed except for the mid lane. Now see here again, in the mid lane.
Another fight is going to break out here, and this time they get the pick they were after. Dirty Lake and the boys is out of here, but they're going to lose Import as well to even add more misery to the side of Dirty Lake and the boys, and the Doctors are here. They know there's no hunt on the side of D-Lab, so they're going to start up this All Prime, and they're going to feel confident towards it. It would take an audacious steal from Dirty Lake and the boys to deny it, but looking where they are on the minimap, Tang, it looks like they don't want anything to do with it here, as the 4 members of Doctors going to take down this All Prime and secure the Prime for themselves as well.
Yeah, big plays coming out by Doctors and not panicking, just playing smart, playing slow, getting that Prime, losing that third Fangtooth, but honestly, that didn't matter too much to them. Still able to snowball this game a tiny bit longer with that Prime buff. They should be able to open up the map a bit more, secure some of those tier 2s, look for those tier 1s in the mid lane and in that dual lane, and get more money into their pockets. Because honestly, with this one, we're not really expecting them to open up the base quite yet. Inhibs a bit early to be taken, especially with D-Lab having a really good base defense comp with that Aurora and that Gideon, but getting a few tier 2s is definitely not off the table.
It's going to be picking up some gold in the map, just trying to find an advantage here. And the Doctors certainly have advantages. You know, they have the kill lead at the moment. So just looking towards these structures that, you know, as you say, tier 2 towers are still standing for the side of Dirty Lake and the boys. Looking maybe towards the level. There's a level lead on Sneaks in the off lane. It's going to be 2 levels on map on Azaris. This could be one of the crucial players for the side of the Doctors. Not if he gets caught out though. Having to be careful. But Happy Picker goes for tall space, goes to the black hole, can save with fence, a good barricade stun, and the Iron Strike comes out but doesn't root on towards Mav, who thought about going back in, as the rest of the Dirty Lake and the boys were able to pounce if that happens. But the Doctors showing some restraint there.
Mav not having the blink up, looked to be almost caught there for a second, but makes it out to safety. Good barricade stun as well to cancel that black hole from that Gideon. Now on the right hand side we see Cure going for that tier 2 already. On the other side we do see Severok push down the tier 2 as well. So we were mentioning it, a lot of gold is gonna be pocketed by Doctors, and then the question is what can they actually do with it. Sneaks on the side lane against Lorber has been a menace this entire game. Honestly, we haven't really had the pleasure to talk about it too much, but Lorber not really finding sort of the team fighting angles that he was hoping for. Usually he is the one that pilots the Severok, but again, back to the mid lane, securing that last tier 2 in the mid lane and on that right hand side.
And this should really be the end of the Doctor's push here. That All Prime buff is not going to be lasting too long. Maybe Sneaks could get that tier 2 tower on the right hand side, but Lorber's really holding his own here, able to clear the waves out, and the Doctors are going to take away the jungle, going to burn this side of the map and also salt the earth as well to make sure that Import is going to start to fall behind in the fighting here. But no, 6-0-9 on that Zarus, involved in 15 of the 15 kills that the Doctors had. And, you know, I've already cast a cursing him before as he nearly got caught out, but I'm quite happy to talk about Mav now that he's back in base.
Yeah, I think now is a safe time to talk about him. Just
Yeah.
100% kill participation everywhere across the map. Always finding those angles to get those important cooldowns out of those key D-Lab members as well. And not missing those smites importantly as well. Now, Primal Fangtooth has spawned. Math and Sneaks already in the pit. I don't really want them to start it up quite yet. He has to escape.
Maybe they want to go for a pick, and Sneaks leading the charge. Goes to the blink play, going to catch on to Lakenator. Good blink, good cleanse, but here comes the team fight coming out from Dirty Lake and the boys. They caught out the chefs. That's a good knock-up. Tesla Dome causing problems though. How far is going to go low? But they take it down Zihi, and they've also taken down Mav. Lorba will be the target, and Lorba is going to drop as a Seek and Destroy coming out from the Gadget, able to take him down. But with the Jungler falling from the Doctors, Dirty Lake and the boys going to start up on this Primal Fangtooth here. It's going to drop a little bit slower, and maybe the Doctors looking to pounce on some exit frags here. Toasty going low, but Import turns away from the Primordial Fangtooth. Toasty still going low. Toasty still keeping himself alive here, but there's a Tesla Dome. Appy Picker, good torn space, gets him out of trouble just when he needed to. But the Doctor's playing this so well. Stinks double subjugate, double colossal blow, looking for the double damage, but can Seismic follow up with the damage? Yes, he can. Able to take down Sneaks, and Import runs to the hills. What a chaotic fight around that Fangtooth pit.
Honestly, Sneaks is just not afraid. No HP, no problem. He's just gonna run at you regardless. Gets a bit of Siphon healing, managing to get one more rotation off, but in the end, still a trade 1-for-1. But that was a fight that was so in D-Lab's favor at the beginning. A really good ultimate by the Aurora, the Cryocism, hitting onto 3, Cure, almost getting one shot at the beginning of the fight, managing to blink away. But honestly, that was the fight that they were hoping for. That they were hoping to get, delaying that Primal Fang from being taken, but still going pretty even in that one fight. It means that they get a bit more time to scale up. Next fight, hopefully they can win a bit more convincingly for them, but for the Doctors, now a lot of cooldowns have been used as well on the side of D-Lab. The Drongo did instantly cleanse Blink away. That could be a target for Mav and next again.
As you had Sneaks going for that classic insect play, kind of showcased a lot by Lorba on that Several pick, and him seeing Sneaks playing it as well. We're going to hurt a little bit there, but as you said, it was a good cleanse and a good blink out. But that is an avenue that can be punished, because we know that the Colossal Blow and that Subjugate combo is still available. But of course, Sneaks did have to blink in to use it as well, so that insect potency might be lost a little bit here. Import, though, cannot afford to be caught out by now, as Sneaks and Mav going to link up, trying to find the play on towards Import, get the wards down. Import still keeping himself around here as Appy Picker, torn space, able to get Toasty away, but Lorba is finding himself isolated. He can't get to safety, can't escape from the Doctor's rampage. They're going to lose their solo laner, and looks like the Doctors are going to go and make the call, starting up that Primal Fangtooth.
Canadian offlaner down means instant start on the Primal Fang. Mav and Sneaks in the pit, the rest dealing the damage. The question is, can they keep Import out? He's known for stealing those.
Import is going to go in. Hoarfrost is going to route on towards Sneaks, but where is it going to go? And it looks like the Primordial Blaze will fall onto the Doctors. No steal attempt coming out of this one here. And now the members are going to group up. Lakenator and Appy Picker immediately run over to the right-hand side to try and probably stop some of these waves here. But the Doctors looking towards the Orb Prime, and with that Primordial Blaze, they're going to look a bit more confident as they start up the purple buff.
So D-Lab gave them the playbook in the previous game. You just get the Primal Fang, you get the Prime, and then you just run it down mid and end within 2 minutes. The question is, can Doctors actually do the same? Side lanes are pushing against them, so they would be on a timer. So I guess the smart idea is to reset, spend their gold, make sure that they have sort of the combat power that they need to end the game, and then play through all 3 sides, because no inhib has been claimed quite yet, and it does actually look like they are doing the smart thing, so good for them.
I could definitely say that the demons of Game 1 have certainly been banished here. We're past the 30-minute mark, and already for the Doctors, they know they have passed that milestone, but they're still in this game, and with a double bubble buff, the Primordial Blaze in their hearts and a purple hue across their shoulders as well, feeling very confident. They were able to really open up this map with the last All Prime buff, and now 3 inhibitors and a tier 2 tower on the right-hand side are the only areas of territory that Dirty Lake and the boys have in their control, at least, so they've got to play defense a little bit longer.
Gotta play defense. With the dive of that Zaris, it's gonna be really hard to defend through that, especially with that Grim being able to follow up on any engage with that GTFO as well. Looks like they just want to go for the left inhib first, though.
That's going to be the target as Coliseum is going to come out from Mav, seeing an opportunity. Bit of a distraction play as the inhibitor will drop. Strike one going to fall. Lorba, Fury of the Heavens on towards Z. He forces the blink out of the support from the Doctors, but mid lane inhibitor has fallen. Sneaks. That stubborn tier 2 tower has dropped, and now the Doctors are going to group up to take down that one. As Sneaks goes for the Colossal Flow Blade once again, but Lakenate, if your blink is up, so is mine. He's able to get to safety, but the third inhibitor has dropped, and the minions pouring into the base as well. This will have to be a defense, a 5 versus 5 fight. It's up to the Doctors. What do? Do they stick or do they twist? They got to marshal these waves in. Mav's Coliseum is currently on cooldown. Containment Fence comes down on towards Sneaks as well as Import looking for the Cry system, but Import gets interrupted. Import is down, and that's just what the Doctors were ordering here as Sneaks is going to frontline. Appy pick a torn space, the black hole over the top of the core, but the Doctors had their eyes only on one prize. The core is going to drop. Tang, we have got a grand finals on our hands. The Doctors take game 2.
And thank God for that. They definitely deserve to pick one of those 2 games up. Stellar performance in the early game again, this time transitioning it into the late game. And honestly, like, Doctors picking those Appies pretty well in the mid lane. I'm trying to make a pun with Apples this time. It's not really working out, but you know what? We're just flowing with it.
Absolutely, and I know Lance did tell me as well that he cooked up a pun of his own. He wanted us to work it into this cast, and honestly, would be a good opportunity to, but might have wait a little bit longer. But honestly, you know, this grand finals, PCC8, certainly delivering with the hype. 1 game apiece. The demons from game 1 certainly banished Tang, and this makes this grand finals very, very interesting indeed. We're going to throw it back to the desk for the game 2 breakdown.
Thank you, TJ and Tang, for that stellar call of that stellar game 2. We have a knotted up series. This is not going to be a sweep. 1-1 apiece. What went right for the Doctors in this game?
They stayed alive and they didn't sell. That's honestly it. They pretty much played the same game they did in game number 1, but this time they're to close it out. So, I mean, this is the Doctors that we were expecting to face against a D-Lab, but this is not the D-Lab we were expecting to face against a Doctor.
Yeah, exactly as that. Again, Doctors are just doing a awesome job of staying on top of the objectives, able to get all those feint tools and all those objectives that I kind of touched on briefly earlier, that D-Lab is sort of like lacking a little bit in that department. I do realize you want to help Lobber from time to time, but you can't give up every single feint tools like that. And going to this third game, I think D-Lab really needs to step up the objective game.
I think that there are some definite adjustments that need to be made out of D-Lab. They stole game 1 from the Doctors, to be quite frank about it. They got in there, they'd not... Lakenator had that really nice shrapnel cannon to secure the Orb Prime. They ended up taking it all the way down the mid lane, take the inhib, take the core. Now it is knotted up 1-1 as Doctors takes the second game. We're going to do our last platinum giveaway of the day. Hit that exclamation point ticket in it. See if you can beat JYTU, if we're going to pad his pockets even a little bit more. You've got this break to get that 500 plat. We'll be right back with game 3. Welcome back, Predecessor and PCC family. Thank you to everybody who joined our giveaway during that break. Shout out to Kyaruga. ADC for Mind the Gap, I believe, just won himself 500 plat. Spend that somewhere nice, Kyaruga. We have a series. We got to focus in onto this. Knotted up 1-1. We essentially have a best of 3 left between Doctors and the Professors. What are we seeing so far from these junglers? We have some stats we're going to pull up. Take a comparison from Mav to Import you see here. F6, break this down.
I'm seeing a lot of damage. Well, this is between Sneaks and Lobber. But within the off lane, the damage is definitely going over towards Sneaks. Looks like he's just been gaming overall throughout pretty much everything that he's trying to do. And that you've seen that in the last time, or the last fight, he's just able to facilitate that.
And we're looking at import map now. So the one interesting thing to kind of take note is the fact that map has a higher KDA than import. And jungle is one of those roles that like you want to see to have the higher KDA because they kind of make or break the early mid game for the team. Being able to get those ganks off, get those objective kills, and being able to kind of get the snowball rolling a little bit. So it kind of seems like map is very on top of the early game aggression, while import is kind of trailing behind him in that regard.
It does seem like he is starting to get the edge. Maybe it's a little bit late for import. He needs to get to bed. He's got to wake up and work tomorrow morning. But we still have a minimum of 2 more games that need to be played in this finals. What worked well for the Doctors in that last game and helped them get this series knotted up F6?
Honestly, he's going to have to be able to just get themselves back into the game, right? I don't feel like they're playing like Dirty Lake and the boys like we are used to. They're going to need to get themselves back into the game. They're going to need to contest these objectives. I don't think they've really even contested any of these early game objectives, which allowed for the Doctors to just kind of skyrocket and keep going throughout these games.
Yeah, I really think Info has the capabilities of matching that early game aggression when it comes to the objective. We just haven't seen it yet, and I think it's very obvious by now what's the bread and butter of the Doctors. They want to just secure feintures as soon as spawns in. I think you just have to get ready to go fight them straight up.
Oh, I hope they just want to fight the whole time. I hope they meet level 1 5v5 and just brawl in the pits just for all of the viewers. We do have the drafts ready. We don't want to keep anybody waiting for this Game 3. Will we see what we've seen in all of these other drafts?
I mean, possibly. I mean, I don't think the game plan really changes. I mean, the only people that's really going to change for us is possibly Dirty Lake and the boys. But we know both of these teams are draft experts, and they just understand what each other are trying to achieve. And Azara's first ban coming out of Dirty Lake and the boys, and they seen how that impact was last game.
Yeah, not only that, I think D-Lab is going to be a little bit more open when it comes to save our priority. We saw them ban out Terra before because they wanted to give with that kind of matchup and give it to Lobber, but Doctors proved that Sneak can power that Sevlog pretty well, so they don't want to play for Sevlog as hard anymore, and we're going to be seeing D-Lab pick up the Terror right there. And I do think, again, Doctors, same strategy, just banning out the mid lane every single time, because I think if Appy Picker is not having a stellar performance mid, I think that's sort of where the early mid game of D-Lab kind of crumbles a bit.
And so much respect and strength put on the NA West mid laner that is Appy Picker. Can't give him that comfort hero in the Howitzer. They're going to pick the Terra up as well. Probably not as concerned if Docs pick Sevarog in this draft as well.
No, I mean, I wouldn't be. Terra is that natural kind of counter towards the Sevarog, just allows to bully mid lane. But at the same time, Sneak's had a stellar performance on it. And I mean, we do know Lobber is pretty great on Terra as well, but the fact that the last 2 games, the matchup, Sneaks has just been pretty much killing it inside the offline. But Aurora pick up here with the Muriel, something we have been waiting for the Doctors to pick up. We know this Muriel is one of their favorites to be picked, so this is going to be very spicy to see how they incorporate it throughout inside D lane.
Yeah, that's actually such a spicy pick because we haven't really seen this high prior pick on like the mirror this early on, but seems like Doctors are trying to cook with that mirror support. But on the side of D-Lab, we're going to be seeing Gideon and Decker, so nothing too surprising right there, kind of like the expected kind of picks we've seen this first half. I do like the Decker pick, not only so that the supports don't get like banned out on the second half, but also take away the potential Decker pickup from Doctors. Who knows, maybe they do Decker off lane, right? So try to like really make sure that D-Lab's Gideon can be able to ult and not get interrupted.
And they've taken away a lot of the natural counters for Terra as well. You know, the Zarus is off. They pick the Decker themselves. Get around this up with the Seraph from the Doctors for this first rotation before we get into our next bans.
I mean, from right now, it looks like Dirty Lake and the boys do have a good comp set up here. I mean, this is kind of the first time we really see them get themselves back into something a little bit normal. The Decker for Toasty, this is one of the key signature heroes that I like to see on him, is because he's able to facilitate more for his team. He's able to rotate throughout mid, get a little bit more impact there, maybe to start helping out Appy Picker to be able to get him to get himself involved into this early to mid game.
I am quite curious to see who the Doctor's going to pair with Saris, because we see a lot of Saris from the Doctors, but Saris is no longer be able to be picked up, but I still want to run that Saris in the off lane, so I'm actually very curious about what jungle they're going to pick up for the Doctors. But either way, I think they have to go for a little bit more CC. They definitely got a lot of CC from the Aurora, but they lose a lot of that value of like crowd control with the million picks, so they kind of want to go for like maybe like a Quam pick so you can kind of get that knockup going. We're gonna see Doctors ban out the Drongo, which again Drongo has like a very, very good performance in this PCC, so I'm not too surprised right there.
And they'll follow that up with the gadget ban on the side of Dirty Lake and the boys. So much like what we saw in the first draft, but this time going over to the side of Doctors as the mid lane hero pool being pinched quite heavily.
I mean, they're going to have to figure something out here for the side of the Doctors. But I mean, Seismic is very comfortable on a lot of these mid laners. I mean, their job is to try and squeeze it out on the opposite side. But able to get Gideon is going to be able to be another comfort area. I mean, he's a very reliable hero. So they're not pushing the pressure back over towards the Doctors to see what they decide. But the Drongo ban is really what's really surprising towards me here, because we do know that Legionnaire does like Drongo, but at the same time, he's also available to play a lot of these different characters like the Kira, has been shown here, and also the Twin Blast.
And for once, we actually get a Kira pick not against a Drongo, which I'm still kind of surprised that a lot of people keep picking Kira against Drongo, where I feel like that's a big counter matchup to it. But this time, no Drongo. You're going to go against Grim. I think this is actually the one matchup where Kira can start to shine a little bit more heavily. And we do see the Sevok signature pick up by Lava right there.
And all of the way to the very last pick, they had the opportunity. 9 picks are in, 4 bans are in. Sevrog still available for Lobber. I'm a little surprised to see it.
Yeah, I feel like the Doctors aren't scared of it at all, but we've also seen with Dirty Lake and the boys in game number 2, they actually put import on the Sevrog and put Lobber on the Terra, and they actually just came out on top there. Lobber had a great game with that, so he's able to facilitate. So really, this is still a flip-flop 50-50 for anybody, and we have to wait till we get into the game to see here.
And we're seeing Doctor's last pick, the Argus, which is actually a popular pick to go against the game, because he has a way to interrupt the game ultimate, and it's going to force that Gideon to pick up True Silver Bracelet early on, or else he's not going to be able to ult ever.
One of these teams will be one victory away from the grand prize, from the title, from the respect that comes with being a PCC champion. We got to break down these drafts real quick before we throw it over to our casters. What do you like about them?
I like the comfortability coming out of Dirty Lake and the boys. I see the Terror, I see the Sev, the Kira, Gideon, Decker. They're all just something that screams to me D-Lab. But on the side of the Doctors, though, this does scream out everything. Like, they just don't know ever what you're going to be seeing over there. And but for me, it's going to be definitely be D-Lab, where I'm kind of like, yeah, this is going to be their game.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to lean towards D-Lab for this game. I just think D-Lab just got more comfort picks all around. I think they have a bit easier execution with what they want to do in team fights. I think Doctors have to have a very specific strategy or mindset to be able to win these team fights as the game progresses later into the game.
I cannot wait to see who takes this, who puts the pressure on the other team. TJ and Tang, walk us through this.
Thank you so much, Lance, and welcome everyone to the casting desk for this one. Things starting to definitely heat up here in the grand finals matchup. Game number 3, Tang has already had to abandon the waistcoats himself here for this one, but we're back on towards the battleground for this match. And Tang, I want to start with something a little bit different here. I'm finding it very interesting that this story being told in the banning phase, so many target bans all towards different members here.
Yeah, so I think for the side of D-Lab, banning away that Cyrus is just like one of those target bans that you can just like watch the last 2 games and you know why that one happens. Like, it's sort of the story being told. Like we were saying it behind camera as well. Like we were saying, like, yeah, we see those draft adaptations coming in like after each of those games, like a best of 5. Like each sort of game in that set sort of tells a different story. We can see like which heroes performed in the last game, which heroes heroes are so scary that we don't ever want to see them, looking at the howitzer there for Appy Picker. And then what are those sort of inconveniences that we don't really want to play into, which could be like that gadget that could potentially be flexed in the off lane, because we know Sneaks likes to play that as well. But yeah, definitely interesting drafts coming out.
As you say, every ban, every pick kind of tells a different story in this grand finals at best of 5 here as well. As you say, I think every single ban just makes sense, targeting towards Lakeinator, going towards Seismic on that gadget here. But we're going to go in towards the here and now. As you say, we are on the battleground, but it looks like there's going to be no crazy shenanigans, no crazy invades. We're back towards the laning phase. And Arai is naturally going to look to probably the most volatile lane of all that's proven to be this offlane matchup. Lorba versus Sneaks once again, running back Terra versus Seraph.
Yeah, and I think it's almost a sacrilege seeing Lorba on the Terror when Severog is on the team as well, that Import is piloting. But yeah, we did see that matchup before. It did go into Sneak's favor. Sneaks also played that against Switchers in that matchup against Professors, always knowing his limits. I think that is the biggest sort of a thing you need to know as the Seraph player, because you need to know when you can actually all in, because apart from that, the hero doesn't do too much otherwise. Like Terra does have hard CC, does have a dash, does have everything. Seraph can dash onto you and then decide whether she falls or you fall, but definitely expecting Sneaks to know it really well, and he's proving it in those last games.
It's quite a powerful ability you have there on the Seraph, the ability to decide whether you live or die in some of these regards, when that Seraph is able to get ahead here.
Oh.
It looks like it's like in the boys actually getting things off with a flying start. That's a blink coming out of Import there by the looks of things, and that is going to mean that it's going to be a blink down. No kill in the mid lane though, but Dead's taking the boys already getting things off to a flying start.
Yeah, I have to it was actually Seismic blinking that into his own pillar, so that was a bit of a misplay by him. Yeah, Import still has the blink up, I think. See, it was Seismic actually blinking into the wall and then just walking it off, because he was pretty close to the turret anyways, but sort of a bit of, maybe a bit of nerves coming in from that mid lane player from the Doctors. Those early games are usually not his strongest suit as well, so it just depends like how Imports can actually capitalize on that. A blink missing on the Argus doesn't have too much in terms of escapes, does have that pillar to lift himself up, but apart from that, he is sort of free fodder for any ganks that would come from the left side.
Because this is what the Doctors were punishing in their match as well, when had it punished against them when Seismic was playing that Argus against the Professors in their semi-final matchup here, and already going to have that blink on cooldown, going to really hurt as well. What can this dwarf do? Well, we know what this dwarf can do for certain. With that Dreadnova, with that Particle Shredder, the Ether Crystal can cause problems. I want to still talk about that jungle matchup between Mav and Import. Very important for Mav to not be on that Zarus, but almost denying the Aurora away from Import, taking a bit of comfort. And Import on this Severog jungle, and we're expecting a bit of a slower start from a Severog jungle, but already he's getting involved in the ganks.
Yeah, has good lockup with his root from a distance, right? The subjugate making stuff happen, at least getting the blink in the early game. Aurora is just farming though. She is a farming machine with that passive as well, clearing so fast, and we can already see her invading over towards the blue side. Import though is looking towards the dual lane again.
And start to move through the river as well. There'll be a meeting of the minds in the river lane, but there's a blink coming out from Z. He is Import. That subjugate really doesn't take any prisoners, especially early on in the game. But that's 2 ganks and 2 blinks down for Import wherever he goes. Zappy Picker going forward, ring around the Rosie players. Seismic and Mav dropping down from the top road. Zappy Picker still has a torn space available here. This might be behind enemy lines. There's a torn space to the right of the wall. He is able to get away, keeping his blink intact though, which was the important thing.
Offlane trading Lorba against Sneaks. Lorba gets the level up, and that might be good night for Sneaks. Blink away to get him to safety. Lorba looking to follow and is gonna get the 1v1 outplay. First blood going over to D-Lab.
Oh, that was so close as well. We talk about throwbacks, we talk about echoes of previous games' passes. Lorba and Sneaks both on a blink, both on a heartbeat left of HP as well. And it was where that kill was going to go. But this time, Lorba getting that solo bolo in the right-hand side in the isolated 1v1. And we saw Lorba as the game goes on. Sneaks are having the better of the matchup, but now he's falling behind. How much does that change the dynamic, Tang?
It changes a lot, because once the Seraph actually falls behind, she can't really do much against the Terra anymore. Also is a bit less useful in those team fights when she just dives in and doesn't do any damage. But it's still not sort of good night for her, and like she is still gonna be a Seraph, she's still gonna get her level 6, she's still gonna spike with her first item, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But in the jungle we already see that XP lead building up as well, and I think that is a bit more worrisome, because for Mav, again, level 6 already hovering around that Fangtooth that we did see being cleared earlier, but this time we might be looking for import river buff claim.
It's also going to be used as well, trying to lock up import. It is going to root him on into the water. Dreadnova, the waiting arms of Psy, and Mav getting the killing blow onto his opposing jungler. And it looks like the doctors are here to start up a Fangtooth off the back of a good pick.
Yeah, it's a jungle kingdom, and you see the queen right here in the ice and flash, getting that Fangtooth as well with Cure and Sihi making the rotation over. With having permanently the prio, doesn't matter what matchup they're up against, it seems to be always them having first move whenever they want. Now Cure and Sihi both need to be careful, because those Decker stuns can still be a hassle trying to go back into those lanes. But DJ, again, we see first Fangtooth going over to Doctors.
And again, it just seems for Deadslake and the boys, or not necessarily part of the game plan, but maybe just a stumble on the long road to defending their PCC crown. It's now the third game in a row that they have lost the first Fangtooth objective, and they honestly haven't been too rattled about it too much. But importantly though for the Doctors is that Deadslake and the boys have not been able to trade. Normally Import's in a position where he's able to, push a wave on the right hand side, start with that mini prime. Not this time. A good pick is able to get the Doctors off to a good start here, but evening up the kills, one for one here. But once again, much like game 1 and game number 2, it's very much a very patient and restrained start to this match.
And I think Import still only ticking over to level 6 now. Is just really hard for him as the Savarog. Before, we did see Aurora go for that split play, invading vertically towards his own blue side and getting sort of all the camps there, making Import not have anything to clear and being forced away again. Import not, it's Doctors not stopping, forcing Import out of his jungle again, making it so that he can't contest the mini prime that is just instantly getting started up by Doctors again.
Just seems to me that Mav wants to drag the Doctors through this early game. What else can we say really about Mav? He is having the tournament performance of a lifetime as well, and I know that when the devs start thinking about MVPs, I wouldn't be surprised to see Mav in contention for it if he continues this stellar performance into game 4 and potentially game number 5. Remember, this is a best of 5 matchup here, and we were kind of joking about it backstage, Tang, is that whenever we're on a finals, it's a minimum of 4 games, but we have actually casted a best of 5 as well. So, stuff to look forward to. Sleep schedules be damned and all that.
Yeah, I mean, sleep is for the week after all, and we are just looking forward to see some good Predecessor to be played. So there's definitely worse things than casting 5 games of banger series like that. So definitely something to look forward to. But Doctors, D-Lab, both of them probably don't want to play 5 games. Probably both of them want to end it in 3 clean games. 1 already dropped on each side. 1-1 so far in the series. But this time again, Doctors in that early game, pulling ahead early. Import getting ulted.
Criticism gonna land on towards Import, but he waits for the Phantom Glide and then uses it right at the end, so he will not be picked off by Seismic. He's just coming out of base. That's a black hole though on towards Mav, but the reversal of fortune comes down from Zihi, making sure the jungle is still alive, and they're able to push the mid laner for Deadslake and the boys out of the lane here as well. Some good team play coming out from the Doctors to keep this game as a 1-1 kill score.
1-to-1 kill score, but now on the right hand side, Olorba secures the first blood in terms of towers already. 10 minutes in, has a level lead over Sneaks as well, and most of that actually comes from that first blood that we did see Lorba get in that 1v1 solo bolo before, and just able to snowball it off that. But now Math again on the duel lane.
That's going to be Mav, unable to find the Glacial Charge pick on towards Lakenator, who's able to use the glide to escape there. Also had Synaptic Obliterator charge by Seismic, not able to find the mark. Sneaks though in trouble. Happy Picker makes the rotation, going to tag that passive on towards the Seraph. Lorba with the blink, the Highland Hurl, not going to find the mark, but the Reckless Assault does a lot of the damage forward, and now Sneaks is now caught out. He's got nowhere to go. Might try to delay, use the Ascend, trying to waste time. Got the fancy footwork, the dancing shoes, but he stumbles at the last moment, and that's going to be Happy Picker getting the kill with the Void Breach.
Yeah, they're getting the kill, a bit of time wasted, but honestly nothing really the worry for them. Now Cure and Sihi pushing down the left tier 1 as well, winning those trades against Lakenator and Toasty, but neither one of them has mana, and Import is in the vicinity, but I think Appy actually was able to be spotted out there by the mid laner, by that Argus. So no ganks happening on the left hand side, and I think both of them want to reset, because Fangtooth again on the table any second now.
It will be spawning shortly. Well, the Cure and Zihi definitely need that reset. Their mana bars really are about as low as you can go. And seems with the reset for the dual lane of Death and the boys as well, everyone understands this. And right now you have got Sneaks pushing out that right hand side, freeing up Lorba to make the rotation over towards the left hand side, getting involved. A 5 versus 4 is potentially brewing as well, unless Sneak starts to make the move. Death and the boys have first pick, and they're going to start up the Fangtooth. Mav waiting in the wings. Potential for a steal. Criticism. Glacial Charge going to go in towards the pick, but Deathstake and the boys import. The hunt finds its mark, and that's the objective going their way. They do not drop the ball when it matters.
Yeah, and important there for Dogs to not overplay their hands. Sneaks is pushing on the right hand side. They shouldn't really contest this. Anyways, at this point, like, just give it up. Dual lane also reset really, really late. Sihi and Q are not really respecting sort of the Fangtooth from spawning, so they are late to the objective as well. So at that point, just give it up. It's fine. You can trade it for something on the other side of the map, which is gonna be a lot of damage onto that tier 1 on the right side. Sneaks might even go for the finish, but Epi Picker is there.
We're going to hear 2 rocks on in. The black hole comes down, but Sneaks can't get the distance. Heaven's Fury throws him back into the black hole, but it's into the waiting arms of the abyss that Appy Picker is able to provide with the ultimate. Sneaks is going to go down with a tier 1 tower. Looks like it did drop though, so Sneaks at least has that going for him, but another kill into the pocket of Appy Picker on that mid lane.
Yeah, Epi Picker definitely feeling good. Now Lorba against Seismic in the mid lane. Reversal of Fortune used by the Muriel is gonna knock Lorba up, but Seismic still in the middle of everything. Import is on top of him, and Seismic makes it to safety.
Yes, Seismic. Does he have the ult though? Does he have the low health bars? Dread Nova not going to find the mark of Import, who just stuck behind that wall, and that may have saved his life as well. No pick here, but that was another commitment of the team fighting ultimate here. Zihi really has been on point with those reversal of fortunes, and there's a reason the desk were quite excited to see Zihi play that Muriel pick.
Yeah, definitely. Reversal of Fortune saving the day there for Seismic, making sure that he is not gonna go down, and secures him from the Savrog and the Terror that were trying to dive him in the mid lane. Did not have the blink up, did not needs to use it with that Muriel providing all the shields that he needs. Now, Sneaks is, I think, the only problem really that Doctors have so far, because level 10 on the Seraph, a level behind Lorba, and sort of not really getting any farm on the map, not really able to make much happen in that split lane. Now, Seismic is on the off lane instead, is gonna look for Lorba. See, he is there as well.
Lover able to sidestep the Dread Nova, going to get hit by that Alacrity. Ether Crystal and the Blink coming down from Seismic as the Particle Shredder lives up to its name. Shreds him down, the Obliterate coming out from Sai as well. Gets the kill on towards Lorber, and there was really nothing that Terra can do, but Import wants to make a play on the left-hand side looking for Cure, who does not have his support with him. The Purge comes out from Lakenator, and he will get the kill given over to him as well, with the dust being procced here. Import also able to escape without taking too many towers. On the right hand side, the Mini Prime was secured, and looks like it also went onto the side of Sneaks as well.
I think that's the play that we've seen all 3 games so far. The Mini Prime being secured on the right side and Import diving Cure on the other one. But Cure, honestly, like, he didn't even try to get a kill there, which is understandable because he just wanted to get the wave. Make sure that D-Lab cannot get the tower too easily, have to invest another wave of time to actually get it down and get a bit more CS in his pockets as well. He was already dead there at that point anyways. Now, I didn't quite see who got the Mini Prime. I'm expecting it to go over to that Seraph, with Mav not having picked it up.
Yeah, we did see Sneaks as he was able to get the Orb Prime buffed up minions underneath the tier 2 tower, and we are going to get that confirmation as well. A little bit more difficult to tell with the purple hue here reflecting off the armor of the Seraph, but those buffed up minions still give the game away here, and an opportunity for the Doctors to exert some pressure and try to equalize in the right hand side. Tangy did say that Sneaks is going to cause problems on that Seraph if he is left unchecked here. Maybe that's going to be the job of Lorber, just to stay in this lane, kind of make sure that Sneaks does not get out of control on that Seraph pick. But I'm seeing Import making a move over towards the left-hand side. Cure goes aggressive here, but Cure's going to get Colossal blowed underneath the tier 1 tower. There's the Blink. The Obliterator will come out from the mid lane reversal. Will drop from Z. He keeps Cure alive. The GTFO. Import plays Bodyguard and stops the ultimate connecting on towards Lakenator. Now Seismic is on the scene. So is Abby Picker. So is Mav as well. Members grouping up on this left-hand side, looking for a pick that seems to be too elusive for both teams.
Yeah, no picks happening quite yet, but all 5 members towards that left river. Lorber in the mid lane having to blink away from Sneaks, that with that Mini Prime and that ultimate popped can just pop the Terra herself. But they're looking for that mid tier 1. Also looking for that Fangtooth with no contestation possible, with Import having to channel the recall, getting back to base, not able to contest that Fangtooth from going down.
Black Hole comes out in the mid lane, but the tier 1 tower is going to drop. Maybe they can take the Mini Prime buff away from Sneaks, but that does not look like the case. And the Doctors securing themselves a second Fangtooth of the game at the 18-minute mark here. 2 kills to 4. Very interesting game we have on our hands here, Time, because it feels like the slowest paced game of the 3 games here we've had in Grand Finals.
Slowest paced and also like the most even one, right? Like the first 2 were all like sort of stomps for Doctors, at least in the early game. This one feels a bit more even. Now Cure on the dual lane has to be careful again. We see the full squad rolling up.
They do at least take the tier 1 tower, but can they get away? See, he's got that reversal of fortune. Should he need it on towards Cure? He's just going to be tanking stun after stun. Consecrated ground, the shield. Going to be enough to keep Cure alive. Cure still is able to provide a damage, but Appy Picker rocks his world and getting that killing blow. And now Import with the rotation, looking to find the pick, and will get it on towards Zihi. They lose Appy Picker, who was traded off by Seismic, getting the kill from range here. 2 for 1 on that left-hand side, but not really much on the board for teams to capitalize with.
So they get their frags, they can't really transition that into anything else. Sneaks fighting against Lorber again, using that ultimate.
There's no blink for Lorber. He's going to have to fight his way out, but he is dealing a lot of return damage on towards Sneaks, and it seems the Mini Prime buff was the main difference maker in round number 2 between these ones, and now Lorber is feeling a little bit more confident to step up to that Seraph as well. Junglers meeting up in the mid lane once again. Orb Prime, though, might start to complicate things, might make things a little bit more interesting. 10 seconds before the big purple buff will be spawning. There's going to be a Primal Fangtooth in about the 3 to 4 minute mark as well, so a lot of avenues for this game to start opening up.
Yeah, but for that to really happen, they need to look for picks first, and it doesn't really look like either team is really confident enough in catching somebody out. A lot of ultimates were blown on the left-hand side before, but Reversal of Fortune is up again for Sihi, so that is one thing they can always play for. Maybe bait Lorber in when he thinks it's only a 1 versus 1, and then the Angel makes her presence known. That's usually how those kills happen, but with the entire team rocking up around that Prime, wanting to get some vision down, that is not going to be a play that is possible. So I think it's just going to be D-Lab controlling the river for now until Doctors actually channel their recoils, go in together, because only with the buddy system they're really safe in walking into the river alone.
Ah, the buddy system. Completely infallible and has never failed in the history of the buddy system as well. And it seems as, for both of these teams, the safety in numbers, because we have seen throughout the semi-finals today and also in the grand finals, that players can get picked off. Mistakes can still happen. And as we mentioned about the best of 5, the mental fortitude, and also how mentally taxing this game is. When you're locked in for so long, you're going to start to see mistakes happen. You're going to start to see some recklessness coming through. And honestly, for D-Lab, I'm surprised that it hasn't already set in, because they have already had a 3-game series so far, whereas the Doctors dispatched Professors quite quickly with a 2-0 themselves.
Really interesting to see on the left-hand side that Sihi is actually holding Lorber in the off lane. Sihi can always group up with his team with that Reversal of Fortune. So Lorber needs to make something happen on that lane, because the Muriel is always going to be first move to whatever fight that happens. But if Lorber is fast enough, if Lorber can actually shove down the tier 2, it's fine. Also, he could look for the dive. It's a good trade of damage onto Muriel already. But Lorber knows that Argus could make his presence known over towards the left-hand side, needs to stop pushing, and that gives sort of Sihi a lot of solo farm to catch. Also gives Doctors knowledge that Lorber is still somewhere around the left side.
Yeah, Sihi just hoping that he can really match up to that Terra in the left-hand side. Also noting as well with his crest option going for the Silentium. Going to go really well against the likes of the Gideon, against that Kira, and against the Terra, stopping that ultimate. Potential flashpoints in the mid lane here. Size are going to hit the Dreadnought on towards imports. D-Lab can't afford to lose their jungler. That's going to be the blink expended. Seismic still hitting damage with that particle shredder. There's no ultimate available for the Dwarf hit. It's just going to be imports blink here. But in the grand finals, in a game of Predecessors, sometimes the finest of margins can make all of the difference.
So Lorber on the left-hand side is gonna get that tier 2 in a second, but Cure and Seismic, both of them making their way over. Muriel can't really hold him there, and Lorber is just going the long way around. Might look for Sihi now, Seismic in the vicinity.
Gonna channel that ultimate, giving him that CC immunity, trying to get away from the Dreadnova. The Ether Crystal, not going to stop him either. Able to get around the wall here. But this is a gutsy play by Predecessor the boys. They're going to start up the Orb Prime. Sneaks is here, so is Mab. But it is a 2 versus 4 because the dual lane is in the mid lane. He can at least take the Reversal of Fortune. Mab's in the pit. The Black Hole comes down and trying to get a kill on towards this. Seraph is able to ascend, able to get away with the help of the Reversal. That Orb Prime still at 3k. Mab still here. Health bars still dropping low. Orb Prime secured by the side of Predecessor the boys. But now Cure is here, and what can this Grim do? Because Predecessor the boys, it took them so long to take the Orb Prime that it dealt so much damage back to them. They lose 3, and even with the Orb Prime buff on 2 members.
Yeah, so now it's a bit of a question what they're gonna do, because their health bars are actually pretty healthy. Only Seraph, the only one that had to recall, they should be able to instantly go for that Fang Tooth. They might look for Lorber still, no blink up on the Terra, but might be able to bait just the enemy team instead of getting anything. Seismic though picks that one up, so with Lorber falling, nothing stands in their way, and they're gonna pick up that Primal Fang Tooth. Only Epi Picker in the mid lane. Very unlikely that he's gonna even attempt to steal that one.
The Primal going to be gifted away. The All Prime buff only on 2 members. Now going to be on 1 less, because Lorber did have the Prime buff himself before he fell, but a Primordial Blade is going to be on 5 members. Happy Picker still keeping the purple hue around his shoulders as well. So it feels like Predecessor the boys going to have to play defense here, Tang, against all 5 members of the Doctors. Very strong with their skirmishing here. The team play has been pretty on point as well. I mean, for their first appearance in the grand finals of the PCC, what have you made of their performance so far, Tang?
Honestly, I just look at the jungle role. Like, this math guy is actually pretty insane. So, like, he is fun to watch, and I'm enjoying every second of it. Getting that Primal Fang now as well. I think, TJ, one thing that we haven't touched on much in this cast, because it just feels like it happens by default anyways, is that the 3 Fang Teeth have been claimed by doctors. That's going to give them a lot of temporary stats as well. So not only are they going to be strong now in those team fights with that Primordial Blaze, those are going to be strong later on, having that scaling option available. But in the mid lane now, Seraph showing on the right hand side, they need to be careful still.
Can't afford to overstep. Stasis Bomb going to land on towards Cure. That is a lot of damage, but Happy Picker senses an opportunity to go to the black hole. But he's overacted a little bit here. Cure still going to drop, and Happy Picker still keeping himself alive. There's a multiple stun coming out from the Dreadnova of Seismic. But do they have enough damage? Because Lorber goes to the pincer, goes to the flank, and looking for Seismic, who blinks away, and Lorber still undeterred. We've got a split fight here as Import is dealing in a 1 versus 2. The Reversal of Fortune comes down and keeps the members alive on the right-hand side. Lorber having to give up the chase. Is a 3 for 2 as Desek and the boys are able to remove 2 of the Primordial Blaze.
A big misplay coming in by Doctors as we were praising them, not having the numbers, even with the Primordial Blaze, not enough to shove in the mid lane that aggressively, with Seraph showing on that right hand side, but still Lorber could be caught, is getting chased around by 2 members as the Terra is getting pincered by the Muriel, as well as Sneaks is pushing down that tier 2 in the mid lane. Lorber 1 HP still running, but Seismic might be able to catch her off any second now. Particle Shredder not quite enough, and with the goo, she is speeding towards the Grim though. That one should be undodgeable, and kill goes over to Cure.
No amount of fancy footwork from Lorber is able to get away when the GTFO is channeled by Cure on a Grim.exe pick, and now Desek and the boys are going to be staggered for the next 40 seconds. But with the Doctors still recovering from that team fight here, unsure really what they're able to get on the map without them grouping up. They just seem to be controlling their waves, getting left lane pushing, getting the mid lane in a good control. Lakenator, like what he's doing here, trying to reset the right hand side, trying to delay the Doctors from getting too much with the small power play they still have.
Yeah, and I think that power play has already expired anyways, with that Primal Fangtooth being off their members. Not able to get much with it, did get at least a teamfight win, did get a few frags, and did get that tier 2 in the mid lane, but still a lot of their own teammates also falling there in that sort of overextension towards the mid lane, and that's exactly what D-Lab was hoping for. Teams, like, they are really strong with that Primordial Blaze, but if teams overstep, if teams don't respect the advantage that numbers have, then it is a different story anyways. Now, tier 2 is the target, but so is Happy Picker, just gets died, just gets deleted.
Happy is going to get picked off underneath the tier 2 tower, and this might be the pick that the Doctors were looking for, Primordial Blaze or not. They're looking for a siege onto the right lane. Inhibitor Imports currently pushing down mid. Mav channels the Glacial Charge, trying to keep members away as the Inhibitor is going to drop. Sneaks goes in towards the backline, looking for Lakenator. The Reversal of Fortune will be channeled on towards that Seraph. They have got the Inhibitor. Now, what else do they decide to do? Import at least push the minions out, so they have a window here for Desek and the boys to mount a defense. Stasis Bomb not going to find the mark. Neither does that Subjugate here. The Doctors keeping members alive, making sure they do not get picked off at this important time in the game.
Minions are not buffed up. This is going to be a hard siege for them with that ranged wave clear coming in.
Lorber currently frontlining. Sneak's going to have to use the Ascent to get away. Mav splitting the fight, walling off the members from getting towards the Inhibitor. Maybe that's what they were looking for, but the Subjugate is going to connect on towards 2 members. There's a blink, there's a Colossal Blow, but it's going to be cleansed, and it looks like Lorber just couldn't find the angle. Sorry, Import couldn't find the angle on the Colossal Blow, and he is going to fall. Happy Picker low health bars, the black hole starting to rip through the health bars of the Doctors, and Deslake and the boys wanting to team fight when it's get back into the game. Sneaks doing what he can. It looks like he's done enough, and Akira is going to fall. Deslake and the boys going to lose 4 members here. Toasty is the only one who is left unmarked from the play, but the Doctors fighting a massive fight in the mid lane.
4 for 2. Now the question is, what can they actually get? Mid inhib is only a formality. The question is, do they want to end 20 seconds for the Zevrak? They have the wave on the right hand side, and it's only Toasty defending it.
He's just got to hold out for 15 seconds. But Tosi doesn't really have wave clear. The core is going to drop. Seismic and Mav just hitting on it. And it looks like that is going to be curtains for game number 3. The Doctors, in their first appearance in the grand finals of PCC, are going to move to championship point and take game 3.
They take the lead. Honestly, again, Math. What is that guy doing? Why is he so good? Doesn't matter if it's the Sarah, doesn't matter if it's the Aurora, doesn't matter if he gets target banned, he is still a menace on the map, just facilitating the early game, and then in the late game, in those team fights, finding those angles with the Crisism to get those team fighting wins. Did look sort of like D-Lab had a fighting chance there with that Primal Fang to fight where they were able to get rid of a few of those buffs, but Seismic also catching out Appy on that side lane sort of sealed the deal for D-Lab.
Sealing the deal indeed, and that is enough to move them on to championship points here. How do you solve a problem like Mav? How do you solve a problem like this Doctors team, able to really start to run the show? Again, what a performance from them in their first grand finals appearance. We're going to mull over that one as much as Desleck the boys are going to as well. It's back to the desk for the game 3 post-game breakdown.
Thank you, TJ and Tang. And the pressure is on our champions as Doctors take game 3. They had a big lead in game 1 as well and ended up giving that game away. If you're Dirty Lake and the boys, how do you maintain composure?
You see, you asked me a question. I literally, I could tell them what to do, but the way that these guys are playing, the Doctors, is what I can tell you. They are putting on a great performance, and I don't think you can stop them. The way their entire team is playing, there's nothing that I can tell Dirty Lake and the boys to do other than shut down the entire team.
There's one thing that I can say to D-Lab, and that is get on the Dane objective. Like, we keep talking about how Import's been a little bit slacking on the objectives, and then he locked in Sevar Jungle, which you can't do early objectives with Sevar Jungle. Like, please, you need that Terror pick and get Sevar to the lobby, because it's not even just like the jungle is like the issue. It's the fact that Sai showed big time. Like, we keep hyping on how good Appy's been doing, but Sai is showing up why he can like really put up a stellar performance. So I just think D-Lab needs to give more respect to Sai, and I think D-Lab just has to just do those objectives early.
Top to bottom, this Doctors roster is looking exquisite, looking like that 8, 9, 10 years of school has paid off for them. We potentially have 2 games more for you, maybe only 1 game more. We're gonna have to find out after this break if Doctors can win their first championship. Welcome back in, everybody. We are at game point. Doctors have taken a 2-1 lead on our defending champions, Dirty Lake and the boys. We want to highlight the mid lane matchup between Seismic and Appy Picker here. 2 mid laners I like to model my own game after. What are these stats saying?
They are screaming holy, because look at that damage per game. I mean, a lot of this, like we talked about in the backstage, is, I mean, we do see Seismic play a lot of a gadget, so it kind of skews it a little bit, but still, the fact that he's able to do this consecutively over and over again, up on that much damage, but still not be getting a lot of kills, just helping, that just shows how much in these team fights he's helped facilitating to make sure that the Doctors are picking up these wins.
And you can keep doing really good in team fights, because look at that farm. He's farming like so good with that CS per minute right there. Like, I think this shows like a 2 different like mid lane playstyle for like the Doctors. They really just need the mid lane to do damage, and then Mav and like Snakes can go in for the kill, whereas for D-Lab, they rely on Appy to get the kills for them, and if Appy is not performing, not able to really get the ball rolling in the mid lane, they kind of just start to crumble a little bit, and that's kind of what we just keep seeing in these last few games, where Appy is not having a stellar performance, and as a result, D-Lab is not able to put out a strong performance around those objective fights.
So, we kind of talked about this before in our last post-game analysis. It is Dirty Lake and the boys who look like they have been playing on the back foot so far in this series. What can they do to be the aggressors and be the ones to put the ball in, or to take the ball, put it in their court, and put the pressure onto the Doctors?
I mean, they just got to put 10 toes down. They got to contest these objectives. They have to contest the aggression that they are getting brought to them. I mean, Joey said it more than 3 to 4 times now. Go to the objective, contest it, make sure you have your vision up, make sure there's wards there, make sure you know their timing, play towards these objectives, because that's all the doctors are doing, is they're playing for these objectives. You know, as soon as the Fang 2 spawn, they're going to be there. You know, when the mini prime up, they're going to be there. They might not start it exactly right away, but they're definitely looking at the corresponding lane, like the duo, mid, or the off lane, to depend on if they can go to the objective right away, or kind of just get a gank, get the kill, go to the objective, and keep playing like that.
Yeah, DLF definitely had to change up the strategy, because I'm noticing the trend of Import favoring the offlane a little bit too much, to the point that he's keep giving up early objectives. I think Lopper is a fantastic offlane. He doesn't need the jungle help. I think Import needs to focus more attention on the mid lane, more attention on the dual lane, because if you can get that edge on the mid and dual, you'll naturally be able to get that edge on the objectives, and you have to get on top of the objectives, because you cannot let this false game go by and not just gain every single Fang 2 under your noses.
And it is time for that draft to begin. We will see if they try to work a comp out that can take some of this objective pressure that the doctors have been putting onto them. Does anything change, F6?
Doesn't. Gadget's banned out. I mean, we saw the damage numbers, obviously, from Seismic, that how he's picked out away as well. Doctors don't need to change their strategy, but D-Lab does. But at the same time, they can't abandon their whole entire strategy going into this game.
And we're seeing DLF first pick the series, and this is exactly the kind of pick that Import needs to get on. Just a really good early to mid game jungler that can have huge impact in lane with his ultimates. Like, this has to go on Import, because I just see no other better jungler that Import can grab if he actually wants to make those big early game, mid game like impact for the objectives. And we're gonna see Doctors pick up the Terror and the Sevlog, so they're like, hey, Snakes is fine with Sevlog. We don't want Lava to get Sevlog, so let's just drunk it for ourselves right here.
And the beef in the first rotation for the doctors. We might have to alter the food pyramid, because it looks like beef is good for you now.
It is, but also the Aurora is good towards the D-Lab, kind of help just fight off into the rest of these tankier guys. I mean, to be able to use a sweep, Aurora is just good generally to dive the backline as well. So we know a lot of times Curious sitting on the backline, just being able to do whatever he wants. We've seen how effective the Aurora wall has been throughout this entire PCC, able to use that to facilitate, just to maybe block the Terra from really trying to charge into these objectives is going to be really good.
I do find it funny that DLab pick up August, most for the fact that, hey, if you're going to take my Lava Sevlog, we're going to take your side August right there. And then Doctor's going to last pick the Mayo right here and going to ban out the Drongo. It seems like Doctor still really want to play that team fighting strategy. I think Mayo pair up with the Terror and Sevlog is pretty disgusting, because not only they're very beefy, very good at diving the backline, now they're going to get the knockup and shield support from the Mayo.
And we're going to take both the Drongo and the Iggy off of the table as well. Going to be Dirty Lake and the boys, making sure Seismic doesn't get that Iggy. It's going to be the doctors making sure Lake doesn't get that patented signature Drongo pick for himself.
Definitely seeing a strat being switched up here. D-Lab focusing out Seismic this time. If you're going to focus our mid, we're going to focus yours. And I think it's really good for them to do that. And we do actually have a slight little change here. It's going to be a Gideon being banned out instead, which I think is even more fair, because we've seen Seismic on the Gideon and he is ridiculous. But we have the Iggy and Scourge going towards Dirty Lake and the boys, maybe potentially going into the offlane.
Yeah, it's gonna see like kind of a reversal right here. Doctor's really pressuring Appy all day long, and now D-Lab is starting to finally put pressure on Sai all day long, because now that mid lane roster is super like pinch right there, and I think D-Lab is showing some real respect to Sai for once. So now the question is, what mid lane the Doctors want to pick up for Sai?
We'll see. I would like, or am a little curious, if they're going to go towards the Bellica here. Seismic, named after the primary ability of Bellica with the Seismic Assault here, and it is going to be that. So, some signature picks in this. How do these rosters stack up against each other?
I mean, when it comes towards the Argus, if it is the Argus into the mid lane, maybe Argus might go to support as well, but they're building out Chemical Rod in the first place. That's already a natural just kind of counter in itself as itemization wise. Bellic is going to have a field day with the funny button. And of course, it doesn't hit as hard as it used to, but still enough when that matchup is there. But with the Grim Diet EXC, he's going to be able to also kind of stop any type of CC coming out of the Argus if he is in that support role with that Dread to at least keep him alive in certain situations.
As much as I like that Bellica pickup by Sai, I think now the biggest problem I'm seeing from Doctors is the lack of sustained damage. Because obviously Bellica has a very nice knockup and the ability for his team to follow up on that, but doesn't necessarily have that sustained damage. Like Iggy's Crush would have been the perfect pickup for Doctors at that point, but you see why D-Lab banned Gideon and just pick Iggy for themselves, because I know that mid lane is not going to bring as much sustained damage going to this game. So I think this is going to be the game where Sai's going to struggle a little bit, and that's probably what D-Lab needs if they want to make this the 2-2.
The draft is done. The analysis has been made. Doctors one game away from getting their first crown, from knocking Dirty Lake and the boys off the top of the podium. TJ and Tang, let us know if they can do it.
It will be our pleasure, Lance. Thank you very much for transitioning over to ourselves. Me and Tang here are ready for game number 4 on the Battleground. A very interesting draft phase, Tang, that we watched here. It seems that no need to ban away the tanks. 3 bans in the mid lane and a double mage composition coming out from Dirty Lake and the boys. Seismic's got to dig deep into that champion pool.
Definitely has to dig deep, and it's gonna be the Bellica that is gonna be the treasure that is uncovered. Even though, like, treasure, I'm not sure. Like, Bellica definitely not been in the meta for quite a while, just doesn't have enough damage to actually go through most of those squishies in one rotation as she did before with those ultimate changes, not scaling with missing mana as well as it used to do, and this time has to play against the Iggy that Appy is piloting again, as in the first game, but D-Lab this time really hoping to not fall behind as much as they did in that game.
Oh, the game number 1. Feels like so long ago in this series. Game number 4 of this best of 5s. It's like an eternity since we saw that incredible comeback and the running down of the tier 2 inhib straight to core for Desek and the boys. Of course, Doctors do not want to repeat that, of course, because they are on championship point, definitely stepping up, and Desek and the boys. I said that Sarsing needed to dig deep here, but for Desek and the boys, throughout this entire series, we need to see something more from our defending champions.
Yeah, and so far, like, they've only responded to the Doctors making the plays. They are always the ones being reactive, just sort of cruising by and hoping that they're gonna win one of those team fights in those later stages at the game. But I think F6 said it best, right? Like, they just need to go 10 toes down. They need to contest those objectives early when they spawn, because they know Doctors is gonna be at the Fangtooth at 5 minutes. They know they're gonna be at the Mini Prime at 8. So they need to actually find a game plan against that, need to find sort of what works for them, because at the moment making those cross-map plays is not working, right?
Well, maybe they can make something happen in the mid lane as Mav going for the long gank on towards Appy Picker as the Seismic Assault connects from Sai. Gonna blink to import, keeps himself alive, but already a resource has been burnt in the mid lane. Mav ganking at 2 minutes 40 seconds.
Yeah, that's a good cooldown being blown. Appy Picker not having that ult up, that blink up means that for the next 4.5 minutes, he is gonna be perma-ganked by Mav most likely. And with that Iggy not having any survivability before that level 6 comes in, that should be a threat that Appy Picker should take very, very seriously. But now, on the left-hand side, Q in the bad spots as well.
Import going for the gank. The Ether Crystal's going to pull Cure back in. He's going to blink back towards safety, but he's got to dance around his turrets. Import is so low, so is Cure. It's now to the dual lane to provide the damage just so Cure is able to waddle away. So does Lakenator, but I can barely see their health bars on the perspective here of the Spectate. That was close. No blood drawn just yet.
So Aurora blink, TB blink, Grim blink, Muriel no blink. Okay, so at least she didn't have to use it there. But yeah, 2 blinks exchanged for 1 on the left hand side while Import is actually doing the gank. So definitely not what D-Lab was hoping for. And Math is gonna get a bit of a cheeky invade of the back end of it as well. You should be able to get the 5 camp completely. Toasty there trying to steal away the 2 camp and forcing Math out of Aurora's jungle that is instantly heading over towards the mid lane. Seismic is low.
Seismic, he doesn't really have much mana either. Could be forced out by Appy Picker. Seismic on one of his signature picks as well. As I say, it's been a very long, it feels like a long time since we've seen Lieutenant Bellica in the meta here, as Seismic has had to go really deep in towards a champion pool to get one of his iconic mid laners from PCC events past here. We need a big performance as well from him just to make the pick work. Doctor's changing things up a little bit more as well, Tang, noting of course that this time we don't have a Sevarog jungle and a Terra offlane. Gonna flip the roles around. That's gonna be Sneaks taking the Sevarog into the offlane, and we're gonna be seeing the Terra jungle for the first time in the grand finals.
Yeah, Mav already making his presence known in the mid lane with the Terra, but it does look like that D-Lab wants to do the same, at least secure those river boss. Terra, not having the easiest ganks, at least has a gap closer with her dash and also the root with her axis, but the lockdown needs to come from somewhere else. Usually the Bellica in the mid lane works pretty well for that, or the subjugate of the Sevarog being able to lock them up. So Terra can actually guarantee her root with the access, with it being empowered. She roots, right? And then with the dash, she gets a knock-up stun as well. And that is sort of the play they want to go for. So far has been getting that Blink in the mid lane, but Blink alone is not enough. She needs to return towards Appy, needs to find that kill as well.
So that Appy is definitely quite a tasty target for the Terra, as you mentioned, with the gap close, forcing out a Blink as well. See if Seismic can land another one of them Seismic assaults. It's almost like that's where his namesake comes from. But even over towards left hand side, where a lot of Blinks were burned from Import's gank on that left hand side. And it seems that he's going to be over there as well once again. But the dual lane's not really in a good position to go for the gank. Import still sniffing around. 6 minutes gone. It's gone by so quickly as well. It might be our longest time we have waited for a first blood. But Import's over by the opening of the pits here. Team is jockeying for position once again, even with no kills on the board.
Yeah, so they have so many wards around that Fangtooth pit, so at least they know that nothing is gonna happen. They don't have vision onto the Terra though, so they don't know exactly where she is. They also don't know if she's already ticked over to level 6, which is pretty unlikely, to be fair, at this stage of the game. But Aurora has cleared her red side, so now is the timing where she either walks over to the blue side or forces her dual lane to start up that Fangtooth with her, because otherwise she doesn't really have anything to do on the left hand side of the map.
And without the Blinks, with the Blinks down as well, maybe the dual lanes not feeling confident enough to just go for that play. Game 4 in the grand finals. Can't afford for mistakes to happen at this point. I mentioned to you, Tang, about the mental exhaustion that can come out in these very long, drawn-out games. I mean, I'm certainly starting to feel it, and I'm sure you are as well. I got no idea how these players are feeling it. As Tang, you know, you have a bit of a unique insight because you were here PCC2 when your grand finals went to game number 5. How was the mental by game number 4?
Honestly, we were 2-1 ahead. We were exactly in the position the Docs were. Then we lost our next game. And then, honestly, last game, we were just looking forward to end it. Like, it was like 3 AM for us. And Mav also wants to end it on the dual lane, going for Lakenator, no blink up, and Cure secures first blood.
Cure gets that first blood, lulling us all into a false sense of security, making Tang reminisce about PC times gone by. But it seems to be going to be Lakenator going bye-bye with that gank, and that's what the Doctors were looking for. Mav straight on towards that first Fangtooth, going to start it up as well. But it seems that Derstic and the boys have got a mini prime to trade it out, and that's where Import is headed over.
And for the first time, we actually see a trade of objectives happening. This time, Epipicker setting up those turrets in the Prime Pit is going to make it a breeze to get that mini objective. Probably in the hands of a Lorba to sort of bully the Sevarog even further in that off lane. So with the Ceres picking up that Mutilator first item, should be having a pretty decent matchup into Sneaks that has been struggling a tiny bit, but honestly, as the Sevarog, as long as he doesn't die to the Saras, he is smiling. It's just trying to get those stacks, trying to stack up his shoulder pads.
And another pick as well, that Zaras, which Mav has been really running the show in this grand finals. Can be given over to Lorber on the right hand side, denied away from the Doctors for the first time this series. And I'm just looking for the players as well. We've spoken a lot about Mav, spoken a lot about Sneaks, Psy, Appy Picker in this matchup, Tang. But in game number 4, who are these players for both teams? Who needs to step up the most? Who needs to find that impact to make a difference?
Has to be Seismic on the dual lane, is looking for the gank with that Seismic Assault, but it does look like Lakenator is just barely gonna escape on the left hand side, with the dash being enough to get him to safety. And I think Seismic is gonna have a big task ahead of him, TJ, because with that Bellica, he's gonna fall off a cliff in the late game. Like, he is not gonna be able to one-shot the Iggy, neither is he gonna be able to one-shot that TB, especially with Toasty always being close by. So I think Seismic really has to look to position well, has to look to play around with a Mav, the Terra, to follow up on the damage, because alone he's gonna have a hard time actually getting any frags.
It seems to me with this composition as well is that is where most of the damage is going to be focused here. Import, though, for those Predecessor boys, also has a lot of damage. Going to use that Cryosystem to shield, not going to protect Cure from the Cryosystem, but at least a little bit of distance enough to get the dual lane out to safety here. Import trying to make the gank on the left-hand side. Only the 1 kill in 10.5 minutes, Tang.
So no reversal of fortune tells me that Lorber on the right hand side can play infinitely more aggressive now against that Sevarog. Big team fighting ultimate down for the side of D-Lab as well though. Cryosystem not up on the Aurora makes her kind of useless in the next stages of the game, but mid lane again, fights happening.
Mav went from top ropes, dropping down, but Import linking up with Appy Picker, able to get the kill on towards that Terra jungle. Toasty even helping out with the Synaptic Obliterator. Predecessor boys able to answer back, 1 kill to 1 to keep game 4 in this grand finals close. Lorber's going to be more than happy that, as you said, without reversal of fortune, Lorber playing aggressive, might even be able to take down this tower before Sneak's able to get there and secure himself a first brick over towards that solar side.
Lorber is gonna be so strong now. He secured that first tier 1, also got the mini prime and a lot of XP on that right hand side. It's gonna take the Cyan before recalling, and that Saras is gonna be a pain to deal with for Doctors, and that's definitely not something they're looking forward to, because all of the previous games, you were alluding to it before, was always Saras in their side on their team, just making things work. Now it's gonna be piloted by Lorber. Seismic on the dual lane again onto Lakenator.
Gonna hit that Seismic Assault on towards the Twin Blast. Gonna force out Lakenator's blink once again, but there is the impact town that you were looking for, not quite resulting in the kill. But the finest of margins can decide predecessor games. If game 1 is anything to go by, 1 pick led to an absolute snowball. Game number 4 though, and see how this is going to react as Seismic hits yet another Seismic Assault, and that displacement orb from Cure was absolutely perfect. The wall from Import had to be better to keep the life of his mid laner as the collapse was threatening.
So at least it was the blink used by the Iggy, so at least it wasn't for Nord for the side of Doctors, but they couldn't capitalize on the Iggy blink after that early level 3 play. This time they hope to do something nice. Mav in the mid lane is gonna get a bit of damage onto those tier 1 towers, but needs to worry because that Fangtooth is gonna spawn in about a minute's time. He needs to worry that his tempo is not delayed, that he is first to the target, because for the side of Doctors, they wanna still play for that third Fangtooth win condition, and they also really don't want Appy Picker to be the first one setting up in that pit, because if that Iggy already has 3 turrets in that pit, it just makes those fights infinitely harder.
We've seen time and time again in this tournament what the Iggy and Scorch can do, as you say, Tang, when Appy is able to get in towards this pit. And we're gonna have to watch a second game of Appy on a pick that he's not quite known as. Taking him away from his signature howitzer has caused Dirty Lake and the boys some problems. So we're going to need to see the adaptation coming in as this grand final set goes on. Second Fangtooth spawning, an import just like the desk wanted is there for the cooldown, but Zihi, Mav and Sai waiting in the wings. Cure is going to be on left hand side. Sneaks can't be involved, so this will be a 4 versus 5 as the Fangtooth is going to be secured. Maybe the Doctors can look towards the exit frags as Mav looking for an opportunity, looking to pass. He's stuck inside the Coliseum. Mav has got nowhere to go, even with the unstoppable assault. His assault does get stopped by the side of Dirty Lake and the boys. Appy Picker getting the kill. That's going to be one pick for the Fangtooth, as Sneaks is able to trade it out for the tier 1 tower in the solar side.
Very uncharacteristic misplay there coming in from Mav. Pretty weird that he even tries to contest this with Sneaks just not making the rotation over. They know they're in a 4 versus 5 and they know the Fangtooth has already been claimed. Like, what are you doing there, man? Just leave. Just give up that Fangtooth at that point. Like, it's already gone and that's fine, right? Like, you don't need to get every objective. You just need to do your best to at least trade it for something on the other side of the map. The Savrock, as you highlighted, did get that tier 1, is able to get a few more items, and once that Savrock gets a good chunk of armor online, I think he's gonna have a lot easier time contesting the side wave against Lorber.
Lorber coming off that second item build as well. Tainted Blade picked up, making sure that whenever he deals damage, going to be dealing 8% more on his target when he's able to provide that blight, be it the Sevarog, be it any member really of the Doctors. I mean, Lorber has had such a fantastic tournament so far. We're going to need to see another great performance from him for Dirty Lake and the boys to really rally behind him at this point. I am wondering as well, with the play that we saw by Mav, uncharacteristic, but maybe that's a sign of the exhaustion. Maybe that's a sign of this series starting to take its toll. Lorber and Sneaks heavily trading. Neither of them have a tier 1 tower, but thankfully both have mobility, so they're able to get away. But Dirty Lake and the boys grouping up, looking towards the mini-map, thinking about the mini-prime itself. Import Toasty waiting in the wings. Can also call on Appy Picker if needed here. So Dirty Lake and the boys starting to dictate a bit of tempo, and Doctor's going to respond, getting some information into the D-Lab red jungle.
So far, we've always seen the mini prime being traded off and diving Cure on that left hand side. This time it's going to be Lakenator's turn. It's going to be Blink forward by Seismic, not connecting with anything, which gives the story away. Lakenator able to just walk it off, get to safety. Tier 1 on the left hand side is still going to be claimed, but now the question is, can D-Lab trade that for the mid tier 1 potentially?
Well, Import was the one who secured the mini prime, and he is in position across that mid lane to try and take it down. Mav is currently the one who's got to be stalwart and try and defend it. With the buffed up waves, might cause problems, but it seems Dirty Lake and the boys have other ideas. The call is to back away, so Import's going to have that mini prime buff on him a little bit longer, but running down on opportunities to use it here. I'm looking towards that minimap. Fangtooth about 2 minutes away, potentially going to be another flashpoint in this crazy grand finals.
Yeah, I'm really expecting Import to try to do something with that mini prime. Maybe open up the dual lane, give Lakenator a bit of space, able to impact those fights a little bit earlier than those last few games. But in the mid lane, Mav not having the impact that he had in the first 2 games on that Terra pick, not really finding those angles to get those repeat ganks, to get the picks onto Appy Picker or Lorber on the off lane. So far, 0-1 did claim the first Fangtooth, but not much else.
Might start to cause problems here. Feels like Mav really starts to grow into this game when he has agency, when he is able to be that primary engage, catching out members. But on the Terror doesn't really have that trouble. Uses the Reckless Assault to go towards the mid lane. Import going to have to blink over, find himself out of position. But a tier 1 tower in mid lane does eventually drop for your side on Dusk, as Doctors are going to get here just to watch the embers burn on that structure in the mid lane. But once again, look towards the minimap. Nothing available just yet. Team still jockeying for position, trying to probe a weakness. An Import losing a blink might be just that.
Yeah, getting Blink removed for that next Fangtooth fight stings a tiny bit. Cryosystem is still gonna be up though, so it's not the end of the world. Aurora inherently has a lot of mobility in her kit, so her Blink is nice to instantly engage onto the backline, but not necessarily the most important cooldown in your kit. Now we see Cure Sihi Mav securing the left hand side. implementing the buddy system, making sure that they can't be caught in the river, and instead getting those deep wards, for that Fangtooth that is about to come.
I swear this cast is going to be sponsored by the buddy system. We're seeing it used so well as these teams start to group up, find another member on the team and group together. I mean, we have seen throughout this tournament the strong duos, the duo lanes coming out swinging, but also mid-jungle and off-laner in the early stages of the game. Fangtooth going to drop, and Appy Picker and the side of Devastating the boys are here where the 3 turrets have been dropped. Going to be so difficult for the Doctors to really play into this one. Mav's going to simply face check this as a Glacial Charge comes out. Mav is caught out in the Colosseum by Lorba. If they lose the jungler here, Mav doing what he can. Reckless Assault, the momentum carries him forward on towards Lakenator. Might be causing enough problems here, but they're going to lose Toasty for it as they're distracted by Mav, causing problems in the back. By Mav is still here. Cura just found an avenue, takes down Lakenator, and this is turning into a disaster for the side of Devastating the boys. They at least get the kill on towards Sneaks as the Fangtooth will be secured by Devastating the boys, but man, that looked dicey. They did lose 3 for it.
What just happened? So I think while all of this was going on, while we did see Mav getting chased around, chasing Lakenator, getting chased by Lakenator, chasing after everybody else, we did see Import and Appy just staying on the objective and saying, okay, we went to the Fangtooth pit to do Fangtooth, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. If you guys are gonna fall, that is not on us, and that's exactly what they did, securing the second Fangtooth for themselves. All in all, the team fight was 3-for-1, but not the end of the world. For the first time in this entire series, we do see D-Lab pulling ahead in terms of Fangtooth for the first time, securing themselves the 8% out of combat movement speed.
It feels like they do have maybe a slight lead on that strong side of the map here. Duo lane, though, for the side of the Doctors, level 12 and level 8 versus level 11 and level 10. That's going to be the biggest difference for the side of Dirty Lake and the boys. If they can utilize it, but they can't afford Lakenator to be isolated by the Doctors coming out swinging. The All Prime has spawned, and already all members of the teams are converging on the right-hand side. Looks like Doctors are going for a very gutsy call here to start the All Prime early, maybe trying to bait a member in. The Colossal looking for a knock-up on towards Toasty, able to get away, but that's a lot of AoE damage onto Import, who is able to find value with the Hoarfrost, but he's going to have to find more value in his spawn, and he is out. Zihi getting chunked low. The Doctors are still finding the damage. Appy Picker, those turrets starting to do work here, but the Doctors do not care. They simply run up the mid lane, take down Lakenator, subjugate on towards Toasty if they can get the Argus, and that's exactly what Cura is going to do. Appy Picker is still here. He's still dropping turrets. He's still going to blink away, but he's dealing with a Death Ball. That is the Doctor's team. He's going to get chased away, but Appy Picker misses the Blast Flower, but it looks like the Doctors are not in a position to contest. He will get away with that. It seems the Doctor's got a rise on your Prime. Seismic there, Seismic Assault. That's Neural Disruptor not getting the killing blow on towards Appy Picker. Lorba, fresh from base, goes back in towards his blue side jungle. Health bars very low. This game, Tang, is so tense.
If Appy Picker fell there, that would have been so crazy. That would have been such a delayed death that would have opened up the map for chefs or for Doctors to try to start up that objective instantly. Instead, barely manages to escape. Doctors not really realizing that he did not manage to go over the wall, and now it's themselves starting up that Prime already. Aurora in the front line looking to get a catch.
Mav's got to be careful. Cure on the right hand side. Doctor split over towards the left of the pit and also towards the right, but seems that Deslake and the boys do not want to commit towards your Prime. Seems both members are trying to bait each other in towards a fight, and this now opens the door for this All Prime dance to continue. It's now the Doctors going to start it up, but the walls are still down. Deslake and the boys will be aware of this one. This is normally where Import can get in towards the pits. GTFO is going to be channeled. There's reversal of Fortune used as well. Still trying to bait members in. Still getting resources out from both of these teams. And once again, health bars are low. Your Prime will still be standing. Here comes Dead Second Boys. Here comes Lorba Coliseum on towards two members. If they can get the pick on towards one, this could start it all off. This Glacial Charge comes through. Walls off Cure. Walls off Mav. But Sneaks is gonna fall for it. And now Dirty Lake and the boys. This is where where they excel. This is where they have made their name as a team. They're going to find 2 outside your prime pit that still remain standing in this almost endless dance, Tang.
Yeah, endless dance, because the waves are just not in their favor. So even with winning that team fight, it just doesn't matter, because they almost lost 2 tier 2s for it, and they're low enough where just Cure standing in the vicinity can threaten sort of the counter engage, so they can't even start it up. So all in all, team fight win for D-Lab. Good proof of concept, showing that they can actually do it, can use that Iggy to team fight effectively, can abuse those chokes with the Aurora Wars to keep the sort of buffer zone as small as possible, and they can beat Doctors in their own game of team fighting. But now with that Primal Fang also spawning, it's gonna be double as hard as Sihi is getting caught in the mid lane.
Loba seeing an opportunity. Think about the Colosseum. He's going to have to think about it. Blink though. Import, Glacial Charge. Walls off Stinks. The Hoarfrost route is going to land. They're going to look to pounce as Mav Reckless assaults forward, but Stinks takes a healthy chunk of damage from Dirty Lake and the boys almost after the fact here. There's a lot of range in this D-Lab composition, and the Docs is really feeling every single punch. But once again, they have safety in numbers. Buddy system. What about all 5? They're going to look again towards starting up your prime. This has to be a bait tank.
I'm so scared for them. They are in the pits, they are starting, but all of D-Lab is around.
Happy Picker looking for an opportunity. Cure displacement. Bass going to go in. Import goes in with a massive crisis. He's going to hit on towards 3 members, but there's no follow-up, and Import might be the one who's in trouble. Glacial charges over the wall, but Happy Picker is going to get a kill onto Sneak, stuck on an Ether Crystal. He goes in with the Inferno, but Happy Picker's down. Cure still causing problems. The reversal of fortune does not live up to the name, and Dirty Lake and the boys seem to be finding a team fight win once again, splitting the fight so well. It's 2 for 1. And now Seismic is isolated. He's got the duo lane hunting him down in the blue side of the D-Lab jungle. What can Seismic do? He's going to go into the Epoch. Buy some time, but that might just be all it is, because time is running out for the mid laner of the Doctors. Sai is going to fall, and another reset will occur. 8 kills to 8 as we approach the 26-minute mark.
And that's a really delayed stuff. So actually that Seismic taking so long to actually fall is actually really bad for Doctors, because that gives the side of D-Lab time to actually try to take one of these objectives while he is actually in base, still in spawn respawning. So it looks like they are trying to go for the Primal Fang, and Sihi getting caught trying to ward it. What are you warding? You are just warding your own demise with Loba getting the stun off, and now Primal Fang is just being started up by them.
The ward provision, but you cannot ward away the damage that has been dealt towards the support. And also Seismic still on a death timer means that the Doctors are very staggered, and they're taking the boys see the opportunity, gonna pounce on it, taking the primordial blaze for themselves. And now this is going to make that all prime dance even more interesting. But first of all, good housekeeping needs to be established. Waves need to be pushed back. Waves need to be equalized and get the foundations relaid again. But that primordial Fangtooth Tang, I feel that might change some things up for D-Lab.
Yeah, definitely. We saw in the first game how they can instantly flip the switch once they have it, and this time with the prime up as well. I think it's just a formality for them to honestly get it with that Iggy in the jungle as well, in the mid lane, providing so much damage over time with those turrets, and just really hard in general for the side of Doctors to walk in, especially with Seismic showing on the left hand side.
This gives a good opportunity for D-Lab. Not only do they have the numbers advantage, but they also have that primordial blaze, the blaze in their hearts, keeping them warm, keeping them going. As this series, this best of 5 draws out 27.5 minutes into game number 4. They're taking the boys. No more opportunities left. They're going to have to do this the hard way. 2 back-to-back victories, which they have been denied so far, with the Doctors causing problems. Seismic is going to be spotted on the left-hand side. A bit of a collapse coming out here from Dead Taking the boys, but Sneaks will be on hand to make that a 2 versus 2. Mav in the mid lane. Going to take some damage from the Obliterator, but on the left-hand side, ZT's reversal of fortune going to change the fortunes of the Doctors, and Lorba's the one who has to retreat, but Sneaks can't catch up to him just yet. More team fight resources have been burned as this eternal dance. It takes 2 to tango. Man, my feet are starting to ache a little bit here, Tang.
Definitely. And so you gotta think for those players as well. One misstep at this stage can cost them the entire game. The cooldown timers are pretty long at this stage, so every mistake can be capitalized on. Now we see Import's Epi Picker still around the Prime, now dropping those turrets. You gotta think that at some point they gotta press the trigger. Primal Fang is also gonna expire any second now. Mav is gonna be on the stairs frontlining.
He's already lost about a third of his HP, but lost a lot less than Seismic. He's been shrunk down to half. He was tagged here. And so just going to get a little bit of that buffering sign. Seems to be buffering for the teams as well. Tracking for position, waiting for this start. Appy Picker, the turrets are down. Or Prime will be pulled. Looks like we're going to keep on going. Currently got Mav over by the Cyan buff, but with all the turrets down, it's so difficult for the Doctors to play into here. That Primordial Blaze is still on the members of Dirty Lake and the boys. They dropped the aggro, turret still causing problems. There's Glacial Charge, Cease looking for an opportunity. Mav going for the flank, going in towards the backline, but these tanks are just being melted through. Colossal Blow comes out, and now here comes the rest of the damage. The Doctors need to find it, but Dirty Lake and the boys are too stalwart. They're too much to handle, and they're still going to keep themselves alive, but they're quarter health bars. I don't think anyone has above Heart HP. Incredibly Tang. All members are going to survive. That's very tense moments at the All Prime pit.
How did nobody drop that? That's one of the first time I saw TJ himself become speechless in one of these fights. Just HP bars, sliver of HP, just everyone surviving though. Import by the what is it called? By the skin of his teeth surviving as well. There we go. This time I actually managed to say it. And now we are back to square one, TJ, because they're instantly running into the enemy red side. They instantly want to get the vision control on lock again with Sihi showing on the left-hand side. They know they have a bit of a timing, but again, Sihi on that Muriel has his reversal of fortune, can rejoin those fights anytime he wants, but if possible, he wants to get the level 11 first.
Giving him that second level, and there is going to be the level 11, so the potency of that reversal of fortune, the shield is going to be a little bit more. Whoever Dirty Lake and the boys catch on to might be given just a second longer in this fight. But what we have seen about time, how fickle it can be, that a second is sometimes all you need. But there's a Colosseum coming down from Lorber, sensing an opportunity, but Dirty Lake and the boys are not going to commit. But that's going to be another team fight ultimate down. Mav, though, struggling to really get towards this pit. He's currently dealing with the mid lane. Your Prime not being started again, waiting for members to arrive. Import's got to be careful. Can't afford to lose either of these junglers here. Sneaks with the Razorback charge. Sneaks looking for an opportunity. Colossal Blow going to go wide, but the reverse the fortune comes down. Not going to find any knockout. Ventilate coming out from Lakeinator. Sneaks going low, but the Razorback and the tankiness keeps Sevrog alive. But can't say the same thing about Appy Picker. But Mav is the one who takes matters into his own hands. But can Mav get away? And it looks like he can't, as a lone turret shot takes him out. Appy Picker removes the jungler for Dirty Lake, and the boys and the Doctors are going to also find Lakeinator. Cure is causing all the problems in the world. Import walls off that entrance in towards the right hand side. 3 members going to drop, and once again health bars ticking dangerously low.
Seismic against Toasty. Seismic really doesn't want to get caught here. Does have full resources, so doesn't need to actually go for the reset. Instead, he should have looked to get the right wave potentially to maybe offset sort of the slow push building up against them. But honestly, the Prime does not even look to be the target for them, because they instantly go towards that Primal Fang with that Severog and that Grim, already starting that up, while Import still dewarding around that Prime pit. Seismic is gonna catch him out in a second, but Import definitely knows something is up.
Well, if there's ever one moment you need Import to steal an objective, Dirty Lake and the boys fans, that time is now. But he's got to take the long way around. Got to get through Seismic. Misses the Seismic Assault. There's the double jump. The Glacial Charge. Aggro will be dropped. Import doesn't go in towards the pit. There was 3k on the Primal Fangtooth. The aggro seems to still be going. But the Doctors are not carrying on here. Sneaks is tanking up. There's the Obliterator coming out. Looks like they're going for the poke. Trying to burn through the Primordial Fangtooth is secured by a Mav. And now with the team fighting buff, they want more. Import Glacial Charge. Walls off the fire, but the Death Ball is just too strong. And they bowl Lakeinator out with a strike in this river. He's going to fall. So is Appy. Import might be the one for falling as well as the Doctors find a huge team fight win. And with the minion waves pushing here, Doctors could go for the end.
They're looking for the left wave. Lorba is getting caught out by Mav, is looking to get rooted up in a second, but just tries to buy more time. As long as Toasty can get rid of the wave on the left-hand side, they might not be able to end. Sevrog and Muriel trying to go for the end while Mav is looking for the Lorba pick. Now Toasty, the only one up in the base, trying to clear it. Sneaks and Sihi are trying to get the waves, and Lorba falling in the meanwhile.
Lorba's going to drop. It's only Toasty and 3 members of the Doctors. They are half HP, but Seismic going to zone away Toasty. And this looks like the crowning moment. Semi-finals in PCC6, semi-finals in PCC7. Change the name, change the logo, but never change the drive. The Doctors are here. They're going to take it all, and they are your PCC8 Grand Champions.
And what a series we just witnessed. Honestly, like, looking at the games, it could have even been a 3-0. In the end, beating D-Lab 3-1, the defending champions falling short to the Doctors, just having the prescription to any game plan that D-Lab was trying to cook up. And honestly, in my opinion, Mav, the definite MVP in my eyes, but honestly, I think the desk has something else to talk about that later on. But yeah, really well played by Doctors, definitely deserving their title as the PCC champions.
They become the 7th unique champions here in the PCC, joining along the ranks of those other winning titles over near enough over a year and a half here of competitive predecessor action. But wow, what a finish to that game. It felt like that dance around your prime is going to last so long, but in the end the chefs persevered. You know, Mav struggling a little bit in the early game, not finding that impact on the Terror, but man, I don't know, the Doctors just turned it up when it matters, turned up the heat. Not going to be called the chefs anymore, but they turned up the heat in the kitchen. D-Lab can't handle it.
Yeah, honestly, like, after the Primal Fang play, I was almost expecting the side of D-Lab to run away with it. They had the Primordial Blaze, they had it on the Iggy as well, on all 5 members. They were playing around the Prime for so long, but Doctors able to stall forever. Like, it was like somebody giving up an order, and the Doctors, like, they just don't care, right? Like, they are just gonna play back. They are not gonna get baited into a fight, and in the end, the patience pays off. They won the game.
They win the game, they win the series, taking grand finals of PCC8 in this best of 5, 3 games to 1. And just before we pass it back, Tang, closing thoughts on Deadstake and the boys. The 2-time, I felt at times in this grand finals, the back-to-back was possible, right? Deadstake and the boys, massive showing up from them in stage of the game, especially in game number 1. But it just wasn't enough in the end, and that's gonna hurt. That has to hurt your defending champions.
Yeah, I think for D-Lab, I think they got actually baited a tiny bit to counterplay the Doctors a bit too much in draft as well. I think instead of playing something that they are known for and playing something that they are strong at, instead they try to sort of counter Doctors' play, which could work, right? But I think if D-Lab is on their A game, they are definitely a sort of a real hard target to beat. Chefs, though, on the day, just definitely better and 100% deserved as well.
Well, there we go. That's going to be it from myself and Tang right at the start. So long ago, I promised you a banger series when TJ and Tang are on the casting desk. And this series between Deadstake and the boys and Chefs will definitely live long in the memory. For the final time tonight, it's all from us. We're going back to the desk for the post-set breakdown and a winner's interview.
Thank you so much, TJ and Tang. Thank you to Dirty Lake and the boys for participating, but congratulations to Sneaks and the rest of his doctor colleagues for winning their first championship, PCC8 champion. Sneaks, we have you with us for this post-game interview. How does it feel, man?
Man, it feels pretty good to beat D-Lab. You know, their egos were getting up there. You know, they thought they were going to win 2 in a row. And we just shut them down. Put them in the mud.
What do you think worked for you guys? Not a lot of people had a lot of belief in you. Like, you know this just as well as I do. D-Lab's the very heavy favorite coming into this tournament. Honestly, I'm going to say it now. I'm on broadcast. There's 600 people here. I don't care. You guys should have 3-0'd them. You threw that first game really hard. What did you guys do? What was your strategy? What worked well for you?
Yeah. Honestly, it's just take Lavrov Sev, and it's free. Like you take Lavrov Sev, try and get Lake off Drongo, get Appy off Howie, and we just win lanes, force it into objectives, and take it home. Labra's just nothing but gum on my shoe, man. That's all I can say. It's easy over there in the solo lane.
On the shoe, that is definitely a hot take. But let's speak about Mav a little bit. I feel like Mav had just an exceptional showing throughout these grand finals. I mean, he took it to what most people believe to be the #1 jungler, but now it's definitely in question because Mav played one hell of a series.
Yeah,
I do have
Mav was gaming out of his mind. Like, I mean, those flanks that he had on Terra were nuts. They're crazy.
I do also want to kind of give a shout out to Sai, because I think he took us a lot by surprise, because I think we were focusing a lot on Appy because he had very good like Swiss, have a very good quarter semis, but as soon as we got to like the finals, you guys hard locked down Appy, and then Sai got a chance to really shine on through with his pick, especially like the August in that game 3, so I think he's also pretty pivotal on you guys being able to like secure those wins.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's crazy. How many times was Import in mid lane post 10 minutes? Like, I felt like it was all game. Import's just sitting on Appy.
So,
Crazy.
First championship for you guys, Sneaks, as a roster. We had a tiny bit of change. You guys
It's a gamer for
replaced
Cure.
Cold with Cure. This is Cure's first event. Anybody that knows Cure personally or has met him through this game knows the history he has with Smite. How do you think you guys assisted him in his transition to learning Predecessor, and how did he elevate your guys' team to now being Prime Championship Circuit champions?
I mean, honestly, Kier came in and he fit our team style like insanely well. Like, he's aggressive. We're all like aggressive players. We want to run in, fight, box people up, and he fits it perfectly for us. We had to like help him with like wave management and stuff because it's not really that much of a thing in Smite. But after that, he's been beating everyone in the duo lane. Like, I'd say he's the best ADC in the game, hands down, right now. I mean, maybe Cold, but at least this PCC, he's definitely the best right now in this PCC.
F6, do you have anything else that you'd like to ask Sneaks before we cut him loose?
Yeah, no, just one other thing. So we didn't really expect you to really pilot that Sevarog. Do you optimally play that Sevarog? Because we've never really seen you play it throughout the PCC. It's usually something that we saw sporadic. We do remember one game from yesterday where you were just kind of completely dominated throughout the PCC with it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to play jungle way back when I used to play Sevarog jungle before like they buffed the minions where you get like more stacks for killing minions. And I always thought I was pretty decent at Sevarog. It's just he doesn't really fit my playstyle all too much. But against D-Lab, I take it, so Labra can't get it. Because when you take Labra off Sev, it's like, and it's just it's way better. Like, they have less front line. It's just so much easier to play against them when they don't have Sev. Like, the Sev, like, helps their team so much and, like, puts them together, I feel like.
One last question I have for you, Sneaks. I'm kind of curious about why you liking the Sevis pick in the offlane a lot. Like, Sevis is a good overall hero, but I kind of feel like there are other offlaners in this meta that does a little bit better than her. But it really comes down to player preference at the end of the day. What kind of clicks with you when you're playing Sevis offlane?
Honestly, today I played Sarah terribly. Like, I just played bad, but I really like it into Terra. Like Terra, I played into Terra. I like Seraph and like Gadget. I like into Terra. Those are the only two I like playing into Terra. So I usually pick those and run it.
Sneaks, we would like to take one
And the ability
opportunity
to like
to
jump
congratulate.
all of Terra's abilities and queue them.
Sneaks, we'd like to take one more opportunity to thank you here for participating, congratulate you and the rest of the doctors for doing this. I have one more question I just want to sneak in. We're not going to go through another rotation really quick. You guys have an incredible sub on your roster and Obusa. What did he do to lift the spirits of you guys as a team? How did Obusa help you guys like maintain that mental and that composure in order to get the championship?
Man, Busa came in, like, in the middle of the game, he came in, and he was like, good shit, guys, good shit. You guys are teaming. And we're like, we're in the game, bro. We're in the game right now. And, yeah, I mean, he was like cheerleading us, right? He was fucking cheering us on and shit. And, he actually went to go train because he's preparing for a fight right now that he's about to do in, like, August 6th or something.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Shout out Obusa. Shout out the rest of the doctors. Sneaks, thank you very
And
much
yeah,
for taking a
Cole-
little bit of
Cole's
time out of
cheering
the
us on
celebration
too.
to join us. Thanks again, Sneaks.
Uh-huh.
So, we have it. Our newest champion is crowned. The Doctors 3-1 over Dirty Lake and the boys. Once again, still no repeat champions ever. This event is finally over. Took 104 total games to crown our champion. F6, let's reflect on this event.
I mean, this event was completely controlled by the Doctors. The entire time they've been playing throughout, we've seen them just play phenomenal. A little bit against MTG, though, there was a little bit of hiccups, but once they got that fine-tuned up, they were just working towards this finals event. And in this finals event, we saw what they've been working for, what they've been able to produce, and that is going to be a championship to be crowned on top of their heads.
Yeah, again, we keep saying this over and over again, but I really feel like what you saw how close those team fights went every single time. Like that old Prime, like whole thing, there was like 6 different fights happen, and no one was just dying until like the 5th or 6th fight on that, and it was so dang close. And I feel like the only reason why Docs was able to still win that last game is because they still have very good objective control. Game 3 fainties means you just get a boost of stats across the board, and I think having those fainters lead, having that objective lead is what tips the scale towards the Dogs, and that made a big difference in being able to secure those wins.
And the wins they did get, all 7 of the necessary wins in main event in order to get that championship. Only drop 1 game the entire time. That is going to be a wrap on PCC8. We will see you in October for PCC9. But before we go, I want to give a heartfelt thank you to all of you guys that tuned in and watched us and supported us throughout this. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button to support us. Join our Discord, follow us on X, follow us on Instagram. F6 be posting up good stuff every single day. I want to thank a couple of the people behind the scenes, of course, on production. We've got the big man. There is only one choice plays. In our admin team, we've got I'm Stranger, we've got Monarch, we've got a new addition in April's. In our graphics team, we've got Hot Sauce, Noctisera, Corvin, all of our on-screen talent. I love all of our on-screen talent so much. Thank you guys for the work that you guys put in. Our observers, Tedium, Shift AC, and Tricks, and of course the HBIC, the big man upstairs, Jolster23 himself. I have been Lance Cecil. This is F6. This is yours truly, but I pointed the wrong direction. We thank you once again so much for joining us. We will see you in October for PCC9.